a shadowy figure commands the princess, ordering her to hurry and steal Lord Arthur's terrible curse. Despite the hesitation on her face, the urgency of the order propels her into action. Manifesting a sinister purple energy, Crash's rune-covered hand reaches out to execute the skill theft. His unique technique is activated in a desperate moment of betrayal. Crash activates his ability, enveloping Arthur in a dark aura. Cursed runes prepare to steal the hero's leader's most precious skill. Arthur screams in agony as magic is violently torn from his soul. The regression ability, now a curse, crumbles in his hands. With blood on his lips, Arthur looks up in shock. He realizes too late that he was betrayed by the one he despised most in the group. Mounted on his skeletal steed, the Death Knight descends from the heavens amidst meteors. Scythe in hand, he prepares to reap the world, bringing the apocalypse. A sinister blue glow emanates from the Death Knight's skull as he roars. His overwhelming energy personifies the destruction and despair the heroes face in this final moment. Wounded and exhausted, Arthur is supported by his desperate companions. They call his name, clinging to their weakened leader as defeat seems imminent for the group. Arthur, the hero's leader, stares into the void with exhausted eyes. Blood drips from his mouth, a sign of the harsh battle they just fought. Amidst a scene of desolation, Crash Valheim falls to his knees. He reflects that the world's hope has been destroyed, and now only ruin remains. One of his companions, her face stained with blood, explodes in fury. She screams for Crash to shut up, blaming him for the terrible situation. With visible curse marks, Crash stares at his former companions in shock. He cannot process the betrayal of those he saved so many times. The mage Abela turns worriedly to her leader, ignoring Crash. She asks if Lord Arthur is all right, showing her unwavering loyalty to him. Crash confronts Abela's magic, recalling that she attacked him while he suffered. He realizes that, both in the past and now, nothing has changed. As Abela appears distressed, Crash coldly accuses her. He states that her habit of belittling people hasn't changed one bit. With fury, Crash recalls the princess's ingratitude. She dared to call her benefactor, the one who sacrificed his own eyes for her, trash. Clutching his face in agony, Crash recalls his reputation. He was seen as the disgrace of the kingdom, a failure with no talent for combat. Crash stares at Arthur, the hero destined to save the world. The disappointment is immense, for it was in him that all hope was placed. Crash stares at his leader, Arthur, with a confused and desperate expression as Arthur's hand approaches. The moment is tense, suggesting a difficult decision is about to be made by the hero. Recalling his loyalty, Crash kneels before Arthur, stating that he always fought by his side. He had promised to remain with his leader until the end, without imagining what was to come. Wounded and bleeding, Arthur stares at Crash with a look of pure exhaustion and despair. The hero, once seen as invincible, now reveals his vulnerability in the world's final moment. Observing Crash fallen on the ground, Arthur reveals his selfish plan. He coldly declares that he will redo everything from the beginning, abandoning his loyal companion without hesitation. With a somber expression, Arthur begins to reveal the reason for his calm amidst the apocalypse. He admits that this is not the first time he has witnessed the end of the world. His eyes glow red as he attacks and reveals his greatest trump card to Crash. Arthur coldly declares that his special ability is regression. Arthur embraces his companions, declaring that the chances of saving the next world will increase. He plans to abandon Crash, who observes the scene, being excluded from the group's future. In despair, Crash confronts his leader, asking about his own fate. Arthur stares at him with complete coldness, making it clear there's no place for him in his plans to start anew. With a cruel smile, Arthur reveals his true nature and seals the betrayal with cutting words. He coldly states that Crash is simply no longer needed for the mission. His former comrade's brutal words leave Crash paralyzed in pure shock and horror. The betrayal strikes him hard, breaking his spirit and sealing his fate in that world. Arthur smiles disdainfully, explaining his plan. He reveals that Crash's cursed ability, though dangerous, always had its uses, confirming he had been using him as a tool from the start. Arthur provokes Crash, questioning why he would bother saving him. He cynically suggests it's more efficient to just pick up a new, clean version of Crash in the next world. Crash finally understands he was always seen as disposable. Amidst the chaos, Arthur promises he will make good use of future versions of Crash, cycle after cycle of regression. Clutching his head in agony, Crash recalls the moment of betrayal. He realizes Arthur and the Azure generation never saw him as a true companion, only watched him be abandoned. As his consciousness fades due to accumulated curses, Crash curses Arthur. He feels the end approaching, his body weakened and his mind slowly fading. With a new understanding of his power, Crash realizes his ability can steal skills. He vows to cast aside pride and become the strongest, defeating everyone in his path. Exhausted after countless regressions, Arthur opens his arms to the power that consumed him. He prepares to go back in time one last time, unaware it will be his last. The power of regression manifests around Arthur. He is focused on his last chance, completely blind to Crash's imminent betrayal. Crash finally reveals his trump card, activating the Black Hood ability. The Dark Shadow advances to steal Arthur's regression power, sealing his fate. Crash recalls the countless apocalypses Arthur lived through. He accuses him of having left him behind in a dying world time after time. Before a pile of bodies, Crash wonders how many times he felt the despair of being abandoned by Arthur in a ruined world. With a victorious smile, Crash declares the roles have reversed. This time, it is Arthur who will be left behind in the doomed world. The Death Knight stares at the princess, reminding her of her own words about the world's ruin. Terror seizes her face as she's confronted with her pessimism. In a close-up, the princess's eye widens in pure shock and despair. She is paralyzed by fear, unable to refute the terrible truth he exposes. Crash wakes up in his child body, looking around, stunned. He recognizes the place as the house he lived in as a boy, realizing his regression worked. A narration introduces powerful and menacing creatures from other dimensions. They are humanity's main threat, known as the World Invaders. Panic spreads through a city as a giant foot descends from the skies. Citizens scream desperately, "Invader, flee!" trying to alert the knights. Without hesitation, a group of heroes advances in formation through the chaotic city streets, running directly towards the imminent threat. Combat begins with a spectacular clash in the air. The narrator reveals the name of the legendary group of heroes, the Azure Generation. Recalling his miserable life, Crash Valheim remembers how he was used as a vessel for curses and, in the end, betrayed by his comrades. Suddenly, Crash wakes up in a luxurious room, completely shocked and disoriented by the drastic change of scenery after his imminent death. He questions the location, remembering the freezing winter from moments before, but now realizes the season has changed to a hot summer. In a flashback to his last gamble, Crash uses the Black Hood on Arthur. He realizes this is how he successfully stole the coveted regression ability. Now, in his younger body, Crash touches his head with a confused expression. The euphoria of victory gives way to uncertainty about what happened. Sitting on his bedroom floor, Crash reflects on the unbelievable feat. He intensely questions how he was able to steal such a powerful ability from Arthur. Crash reflects on his ability's mechanics. A lock is generated based on the value the owner attributes to an object. Even a stone can become impenetrable if deemed precious. This means that for unique abilities immensely valued by opponents, the difficulty to steal them should be astronomically high, protected by complex chains and locks. With this logic in mind, Crash wonders what was going on in Arthur's head. Why wasn't his most powerful ability protected as it should have been? He recalls the moment of betrayal when he activated the Black Hood. Crash realized that, though Arthur's ability was active, there was no lock to prevent him from stealing it. Crash begins to reflect on Arthur's past behavior, realizing the hero sometimes showed signs that something was profoundly wrong beneath his facade. He remembers Arthur's utterly exhausted expression, acting as if he were merely performing a repetitive task, devoid of any real heroism. Crash questions if Arthur was intoxicated by his own tragedy, acting as if he were saving the world alone by repeating everything countless times. Crash reflects on his ability's success. He understands that successfully stealing Arthur's skill with the Black Hood reveals a hidden truth about his former leader. He remembers the countless times Arthur faced the Death Knight and died repeatedly. These constant failures led him to utter despair, shattering his sanity. Crash recalls his former leader's destruction and death, reflecting that he finally took the ability Arthur so desperately wished to discard. This is his chance to change everything. An overwhelming memory of suffering and despair emerges. Crash's silent scream in his past reveals the profound anguish he endured before his regression. He remembers his origin in the strongest martial clan of the Starland Kingdom. His shadow, however, takes on a monstrous form, foreshadowing the dark power he now wields. Looking out the Green Pine Mansion window, Crash situates himself in time. He deduces the 10-year-old trial ceremony has just ended, confirming the exact point of his return. Crash recalls his childhood, when he was scorned for lacking martial talent or prowess. He laments that, chosen by no god, he was deemed useless by his own family. As a consequence of his lack of power, young Crash was expelled from the main house. He silently watches his belongings being carried away, marking the start of his forced exile. He was sent to Green Pine Mansion, a place known for housing the family's failures. Before the imposing gate, Crash faces what would be his new home and prison. Observing dead ants in a puddle, Crash has a dark epiphany. This scene makes him reflect that he already knew the end of the world, a knowledge that would haunt him in the future. Crash stares at the window, but instead of his reflection, he sees the shadow of world destruction. He questions the cataclysm he experienced, a future he now must prevent at all costs. With a piercing gaze, Crash directly confronts one of his servants. He reveals he knows about the poison his brother gave him, coldly questioning when the traitor plans to use it to kill him. Before the shocked nobles, Charlotte Valheim unleashes her overwhelming aura after instantly defeating an opponent. Her power as a sword saint is undeniable, but she seems utterly bored by the fight. Crash's brother overhears Lord Belokin and another noble discussing a rare talent, calling her a 1,000-year genius. As the nobles whisper, Crash's brother reflects that, despite her talent, Charlotte is too great a risk for his plans. With a sinister smile, he concludes that his only remaining target is the useless failure, referring directly to Crash. Aliad approaches Crash's older brother, stating that his career is being blocked. He seems to have a proposal to solve the problem. He reveals a vial with a glowing liquid, hinting that a single drop given to Crash would be enough to resolve his brother's situation. Crash's brother sighs, visibly tired and conflicted. The temptation to remove the obstacle in his path seems to weigh on his mind. With a serious gaze, Crash confronts Aliad, asking why his father would choose someone else's child. The butler is visibly shocked and speechless by the young master's direct accusation. Suddenly, an invisible force attacks Aliad, who spits blood in agony. The tense conversation escalates into a brutal assault, revealing hidden dangers within Crash's own home. Aliad reflects on his betrayal, recalling how he expected Crash to blame himself or cry. The young man's reaction, however, caught him completely by surprise. Aliad finds Crash in the study, who beckons him with a nod. The butler, confused, wonders about the reason for the sudden summons to that location. With a confident posture, young Crash gives Aliad a shocking order. He points to the ornate wall and calmly demands his butler cut it for him, leaving the servant perplexed. Aliad stares at Crash, sword in hand, visibly surprised by the young master's bizarre request. The tension in the Grand Library mounts as he processes the unbelievable command. Without much hesitation, Aliad draws his massive sword, which immediately crackles with a powerful aura. He prepares to obey the absurd order and attack the wall with full force. Surprised, Butler Aliad questions the sudden appearance of a secret passage in the hall. He wields his sword in alert, while young Crash calmly observes the scene. Crash approaches a large chained door, sensing a strange aura that reminds him of the Lord. Confused by the discovery, he wonders what might have happened there. Crash's face lights up with a sudden realization as he looks at the door. The sight of that forgotten place makes him think, this brings back memories. Crash recalls a dark past, observing a city in flames. He reflects that, at that time, everything had already been destroyed, a memory that fuels his present determination. With a fierce smile, young Crash unleashes his dark aura. His confident expression shows he is ready to use the power that has been contained for so long. Crash's energy manifests as shadows that attack and shatter a magical padlock. The chains that bound it are violently destroyed, symbolizing his newfound freedom. Holding the broken padlock, Crash uses the chains to immobilize his butler, Aliad. The servant's terrified gaze reveals how shocking the power reversal between them is. Aliad watches Crash, who tries to lift a heavy chain. The butler, surprised by his newfound strength, asks if the young master perhaps made a contract with a god. Faced with the question, Crash has an epiphany. He remembers that, at this point in the original timeline, he had not yet formed any contracts and lived in utter despair. Aliad sadly recalls that, until the previous day, young Master Crash's eyes reflected a deep void, as if he had completely lost his reason to live. Crash holds a piece representing Aliad, pondering the butler's betrayal. He questions if the discrepancies of the regression also affected Arthur, leading him to yield the ability. Setting memories aside, Crash focuses on his current objective. He declares that the secret library is the priority and concentrates his power on the ancient wooden door. With an explosion of magical energy, Crash destroys the library's lock. An intense light emanates from within, signaling that the entrance to the family's secrets is open. With a shocked and determined gaze, Crash channels his energy, preparing to unleash an overwhelming power in pursuit of his objective in the library. Crash and Aliad watch in astonishment as a mana explosion reveals a secret on the bookshelf, forcefully destroying the surrounding books. Amidst the chaos, a specific book glows with a sinister aura. Crash finally announces with satisfaction, "I found it," revealing the object of his search. Under a sinister blood moon, Crash recalls the figure of his ancestor's overwhelming power. That man was Damaris Valheim, a legend in his family. A close-up of his face reveals a wild, confident smile, the personification of the brute force and domination that made him famous. Known as Valheim's worst failure in history, Damaris was also, paradoxically, the strongest person who ever existed at his peak. The world's most powerful warriors joined forces to challenge him, unleashing magic attacks and sword lunges against the solitary figure. However, none of them could stop him. With overwhelming power, Damaris overcame all his opponents without any difficulty. His strength came from a dark and lethal technique that corrupted everything around him, the extreme blood immersion poison. Analyzing an ancient book, Crash uncovers the truth about Damaris. He had incorporated the world's erosion into his body through a forbidden secret art. With the book in hand and an intense gaze, Crash wonders if Damaris's madness was a result of failing to control the power of erosion. A mysterious figure manipulates a sphere of purple energy, concentrating sinister power in their hands. The intent behind this menacing act remains a dark and dangerous secret. Lord Barakin explodes in fury in his office, his rage directed at Crash. An assistant enters the room, cautiously asking if he was called by the Lord amidst the tension. With a serious expression, the assistant hears the order to go to the Green Pine Pavilion. His master sends him to find Crash immediately, suggesting something urgent is about to happen. As he meditates, Crash is enveloped by a dark and powerful aura. The words "arrogant failure" echo in his mind, not as an insult, but as fuel for his revenge. Crash remembers that not even his sister Charlotte's talent saved her. He recalls how even an extraordinary monster like her was powerless before destruction. Enveloped in a new aura of power, Crash feels satisfied with his current strength. He knows that, for now, this is enough for his plans. Crash has a shocking vision of the future, remembering the fearsome White Demon. He recalls her as the leader who became a pawn of the apocalypse to destroy the world. He remembers that Bianca was also a victim of circumstances. In her home, she was treated coldly, seen only as a pawn in a political agreement. In the present, Crash displays a confident smile, feeling refreshed. His mind takes him back 5 months to his troubled first encounter with his fiancée, Bianca. That day, in a 5-month flashback, Crash acted decisively. He aggressively rejected the engagement, throwing the papers directly at Bianca to everyone's shock. Shaken by the public rejection, Bianca reflects that it was she who intended to refuse him. Now, with her family's future at stake, she finds herself completely humiliated by his attitude. Through the window, Crash smiles and comments to Bianca that there must be many flowers that don't grow in the north, trying to be friendly. Suddenly, Crash's aura changes drastically as he wonders if he is really so different from how he used to be. Bianca is shocked to feel the change in Crash, realizing with astonishment that the aura he emanates is pure murderous intent. Crash smiles innocently at Bianca, hiding his injured hand. Internally, he plans to use the conversation to manipulate the situation and come out on top. Crash directly asks Bianca if their engagement is cancelled, leaving her bewildered. She questions why he would think such a thing, not understanding his intentions. Crash's dark aura manifests as he reaches out to Bianca. With a sinister smile, he reveals he wants her curse, the Snow Doll. Bianca's servants react with panic to Crash's demand. They are shocked by the request for a curse that even the greatest experts couldn't break. In a flashback, an elder teaches young Crash a lesson from a mental mage. When one reaches their limit, the mind sickens. Pointing to a grim illustration, he explains that if one succumbs to this illness, they might even take their own life. Crash ponders whether to use his ability in secret, as Bianca won't give him the curse. A dark energy emanates from him as he plans. Crash's ability reveals a double lock, which he finds problematic. He understands that Bianca's curse is ancient and complex. Holding Bianca's hand, Crash concludes that following her orders is the best method for now, smiling at the thought that it makes him happy. Outside the gate, Crash reflects on his departure. He thinks it will likely take a full month until he can return to that place. Crash intently watches a wagon and a large quantity of wooden crates that have just arrived, inspecting the delivery with curiosity. Suddenly, Crash's face contorts in shock. Something he sees or hears leaves him completely perplexed and surprised by the situation. Bianca Hardenhearts formally introduces herself, announcing she will live in the mansion. Crash is shocked, thinking they'll have to sleep together, not understanding the situation. Crash wakes up and, to his surprise, finds Bianca sleeping beside him again. He wonders why she keeps invading his room to sleep with him. Sleepy Bianca greets Crash with a simple, "Good morning." Her indifferent expression contrasts with his nervousness about their shared room situation. In contrast, Crash wakes up in a cold sweat, enveloped by a dark aura. The vision of a frozen mansion haunts his thoughts, revealing his persistent trauma. Crash wakes up in a cold sweat, recalling the moment his routine changed. The arrival of an unexpected person put him on alert, marking the beginning of a new chapter. Bianca Hardenhearts introduces herself to Crash with a serious gaze. She informs him that, from that day on, she will be living in the Pavellão Pinheiro Azul, beginning their forced cohabitation. Walking together in the garden, Crash reflects on the new situation. He considers this might be a good opportunity to finally build a friendship with Bianca. Months pass and winter arrives. Crash trains tirelessly, enveloped by a dark aura reflecting on how time has flown since Bianca's arrival in summer. The narration reveals that the Academy was the birthplace of the renowned Azure Sky generation. Crash knows that is where he will find his future enemies and targets. Knowing everyone's weaknesses, Crash decides his plan. He swears that upon entering the Academy, he will steal every ability from his former companions. Crash trains intensely, aware of his limitations. He thinks that, even with the secret tomes, an expert's entry level is the most he can achieve for now. Watching Bianca read silently, Crash resolves himself. He must steal the Snowdoll's curse from her as quickly as possible, determined to change the tragic future awaiting her. He reflects that, since summer, Bianca has followed him everywhere like a puppy. A comical memory shows the girl asking if she can't even follow him to the bathroom. Bianca recalls Crash's gentle gestures over the past few months. Feeling warm and cared for, she admits she's never been treated with such affection in her life. As she watches Crash train diligently with his sword, Bianca reflects. His kindness was such that it made her completely forget the terrible first impression she had. While Bianca sleeps on his lap, Crash arrives at their destination. He observes the place, mentioning it's the area's most famous tourist spot, a place he knows well from his past life. The Starland Sanctuary rises majestically, a symbol of power and hope. Yet, for Crash, the city is merely a facade for the corruption and schemes that led the world to ruin. Inside, the noble elite enjoys a lavish feast, toasting with wine. Crash knows that, behind the smiles, many there are potential enemies, people he cannot trust. Hand in hand with Bianca, Crash enters the main hall. He thinks to himself that he doubts there are many decent people in Starland Sanctuary, bracing himself for what's to come. Lord Crash and Lady Bianca Hardenhearts arrive in the hall, and the nobles immediately begin gossiping about the Valheim family's failure being engaged to someone so beautiful. As he walks beside Bianca, Crash observes the guests with disdain, thinking about what it's like to be among so many false nobles. His gaze, however, finds a specific group. He recognizes that, amidst the falsehood, there are some true nobles present at the event. They are Barak Hogma, Amelia, and Annex Glazer. Crash identifies them as the three who came to become Starland's future thrones. Crash observes the party with a look of disdain, breaking into a cold sweat upon seeing his sister Charlotte at the center of attention. He feels completely out of place among all those people. Intimidated by his sister Charlotte's imposing presence, Crash shrinks beneath a hood. He feels small and defenseless before her overwhelming aura as she glares down at him. Crash is visibly embarrassed by the situation, as guests in the background whisper and laugh. He tries to maintain his composure, but the social pressure is clearly too much for him to bear. Noticing Crash's tension from the whispers in the hall, Bianca holds his arm. She advises him not to pay attention to the malicious voices and stares of the other guests. With a serious look, Crash caresses Bianca's head. The gesture is a silent thanks for her support, showing he is also protecting her in the hostile environment. While still comforting her, Crash changes the subject with a confident smile. He asks Bianca when that guy will arrive, preparing for what's to come. Suddenly, the hall fills with murmurs and shocked glances. All the guests turn in the same direction, signaling the arrival of an unexpected and impactful figure. In a luxurious hall, the arrival of an unexpected figure is announced with a thought. Speak of the devil. Anticipation grows as the mysterious person approaches. An extravagant figure emerges, introducing himself as Darling Danfelion, the Lord of the Alchemy Castle. With a showy pose, he announces himself as the eccentric among eccentrics. Danfalion is shocked to see Crash's body covered in curses. He analyzes the gravity of the situation and wonders aloud what could have happened. Examining the marks closely, Danfalion finds a promising solution. He believes he can combine treatments for erosion curses, declaring that a cure is possible. A blonde girl grabs Crash's face, covered in curse marks, and offers to heal him in exchange for him becoming her test subject. Without waiting for an answer, she approaches with a maniacal look, declaring she will begin the treatment immediately to Crash's despair. The girl lunges at Crash, who tries to stop her, but the unexpected encounter results in her cry of pain, surprising both with the shock. The situation reverses, and the girl now strangles Crash while laughing. Furious, he calls her crazy and demands she get off him. An extravagant boy, Lord Darling, makes a grand entrance at the party, greeting everyone. While some guests sigh, others call him weird and accuse him of seeking attention. As Darling scans the hall, his eyes land on a dark-haired boy descending the staircase. He's intrigued, trying to place the strangely familiar face. The boy is Crash Valheim. Darling stares, a vague memory stirring, wondering where he knows this serious-looking child, unaware their destinies have already intertwined. In a luxurious hall, guests notice Crash Valheim, identifying him instantly. They comment on his identity and his unmistakable resemblance to his famous sister, Charlotte. A blonde-haired boy approaches Crash, his face flushed with excitement. Without preamble, he questions if Crash is indeed Charlotte's younger brother. The blonde boy playfully continues, asking if his appearance caught Crash's eye. Yet, a darker thought reveals Crash's recent activities have been noticed. With a wicked smile, the boy's true nature surfaces. A mysterious voice reveals knowing Crash has secretly been investigating the world's dangerous erosion. Inside a brightly lit armory, a blonde-haired young woman prepares for confrontation. She turns to Crash, ready to begin testing his abilities. Wielding twin staffs, the girl faces Crash, intrigued. She remarks that though he looks young, his aura is entirely different, showing unusual maturity. Crash reflects on her comment, understanding why. He thinks to himself that, internally, he's already an academy-graduated adult, explaining his powerful aura. With a confident smile, the girl swaps her staffs for a sword and challenges him directly. She urges him to attack first, telling him to go ahead and begin the duel. A sword is tossed to Crash, who catches it by surprise. A friendly voice says, "Here, take it," commencing an unexpected test for young Valheim. In a flash, Crash reacts instinctively, blocking a surprise attack with the sword he just received. His expression shows the shock and intensity of the moment. The blonde girl, surprised by his defense, questions Crash's sudden attack. She calls him Dear Danfarion, revealing an unexpected familiarity between them. With a smile, the girl reveals her true intentions. She explains she only wanted to see his skills first, showing the attack was merely a test. Bianca attacks Crash with ferocity. He blocks the blow with his sword. He recognizes her deadly technique and wonders about what she just said, processing the situation mid-combat. With eyes glowing blue and full focus, Crash executes a swift, precise counterattack. He demonstrates sword skill that surprises his opponent, proving he is no longer a failure. With blades crossed, Crash makes a shocking proposal, offering to help her research in neutralizing curses. Bianca is stunned, questioning what she just heard in disbelief. Reacting with fury, Bianca delivers a powerful blow while shouting, questioning what Crash could know about alchemy. She challenges him to prove his knowledge to cooperate with her goals. With her face contorted in effort, Bianca defends against Crash's attack. The training's intensity pushes her to her limit, showing her determination to overcome her weaknesses. After the exchange of blows, Bianca stops with a smug air, holding a hair clip in her mouth. She seems pleased with her performance, exhibiting newfound confidence. Wielding a sword enveloped in a dark aura, young Crash confidently offers to help Bianca with her curse research. He reveals his ability to steal curses, leaving Bianca in shock. She wonders how he, supposedly a skill-less failure, possesses such an aura. Bianca realizes this is the perfect opportunity to prove her theories. With a cunning smile, she asks Crash what he wants in return. Unexpectedly, Bianca suggests becoming his boyfriend as payment, leaving Crash irritated and confused by the absurd proposal. An ancient illustration depicts the powerful Azure generation, who, even with their extraordinary abilities, failed to prevent a great destruction. This sets a grim precedent for the future Crash tries to change. The narrator describes the Valheim siblings as extremes, an overwhelming genius and a twisted individual. Crash and his sister are depicted together, hinting at a complex relationship fraught with potential conflict. Bianca, visibly nervous, asks Crash if he intends to go to the newly established Reincarnation Academy. Surprised, Crash questions what the academy is, showing he was unaware of the plans for his future. Crash points with a confident smile, confirming the partnership. The young curse expert blushes, clearly excited by the proposal to work alongside him. Excited, the curse expert accepts the offer, stating he loves working with curses and any type of concoction. Crash thinks to himself that his new ally hasn't changed a bit. Crash then outlines his mission, to find a cure for an incurable disease that turns the skin dark blue and leads to death, highlighting the severity of the case. Crash directly tasks him with creating a remedy for the disease, leaving the curse expert confused and shocked by the seemingly impossible assignment he's received. Following Bianca's disbelief, Crash extends his fist in a gesture of challenge and partnership. He stares at her in silence, awaiting her response to the pact. Bianca's surprise transforms into a confident, cunning smile. She understands Crash's proposal and seems ready to accept the audacious agreement. With a fist bump, the two young nobles seal their agreement. The alliance between Crash and Bianca is formed, uniting their paths for the future. Upon opening the door, Crash finds an excited Bianca. In her thoughts, she reveals a strong fondness for Charlotte, Crash's older sister. With an enigmatic smile, Bianca questions Crash's intentions. She suggests they could even chat about boyfriends, leaving him confused. Blushing, Bianca shocks Crash by confessing she likes both men and women. The unexpected revelation leaves him utterly petrified. Crash flees down a palace corridor, desperately shouting, "It wasn't me," as a girl futilely tries to catch him. In a tense confrontation, a young noble forcefully grabs Bianca's wrist and she murmurs Crash's name in surprise. Without hesitation, Crash reacts with a powerful punch to the aggressor's face, furiously defending Bianca. Amidst the banquet, Crash is violently thrown across the hall. His cry echoes as he falls awkwardly, caught off guard by a sudden, brutal attack that disrupts the festivities. Crash glares at the noble who attacked him, contemptuously pondering his motivations. He mentally calls him trash, questioning what kind of sick person would do such a thing in public. Pressed, the aggressor desperately reveals he was merely following orders. The crowd is shocked to hear the attack was ordered by the second princess, causing an uproar. A noble panics, shouting that the second princess instructed him to bring Lady Bianca to her immediately. As the man justifies himself, claiming it's a royal order, Crash observes young Bianca, who appears intimidated by the situation. The girl is Bianca Hardenhearts, the youngest daughter of the family ruling the north, a figure of great importance. Crash clenches his fists in anger, realizing there's another connection at play. He recalls how his sister persistently used a person named Anix. With a dark, furious expression, Crash lunges at his brother. He furiously questions his audacity in dragging Bianca into his schemes. Completely intimidated by Crash's outburst, his brother stutters and agrees to go. The fear on his face shows he wouldn't dare disobey. Ignoring the defeated man on the floor, Crash extends his hand to his fiancée. He calls her, "Let's go, Bianca," determined to leave the hall. In a glimpse of the future, Crash reveals his trump card. He knows who is behind the events, having already lived through this timeline. With a serene gaze, Bianca reveals she disobeyed the princess because Crash told her to wait, surprising him with her loyalty. Satisfied, Crash congratulates Bianca as they walk together through a luxurious corridor. He praises her, saying, "Good job," solidifying the trust between them. In an opulent hall, a boy with feline features stretches, surprised by Crash's arrival. His excitement breaks the silence, indicating the visit was somewhat anticipated. The cat boy stares at him, happy he came. Crash, with a serious expression, ignores the excitement and states he's only there to see Anix, maintaining focus on his mission. As he approaches the door, Crash feels relieved Anix ordered help. However, the cat boy interrupts him, preparing to ask a sharp question. Suddenly grabbing him, the cat boy provokes him, questioning his ability by claiming he's even weaker than his powerful sister Charlotte. Crash analyzes his opponent, admitting to himself that his battle sense is so unpredictable he can't read his next move. He'd prefer to avoid fighting that boy. Realizing his opponent's gaze leaves him no choice, Crash decides to fight. Immediately, the Beast Boy lunges with a powerful kick, starting the combat with impressive speed. The fight becomes a blur of high-speed attacks and defenses. Crash is caught in a barrage of blows, pressured by his opponent's fierce and relentless offensive. His opponent is thrown back by Crash's punch, falling hard to the ground. The impact of the blow leaves him stunned and screaming in pain, showing Crash's superiority. Complaining Crash is merciless, the boy is reminded he himself issued the challenge. Even injured, he asks for a pause to retrieve his weapons and continue the fight. Before he could retrieve his weapons, Crash's opponent suddenly collapses at his feet. Crash observes the scene, surprised by the adversary's sudden fall. Bianca stares at Crash with suspicion, demanding to know what he did. The tension between the fiancés is clear and direct. Caught off guard, Crash gestures in an attempt to explain himself. He seems to search for the right words to justify his actions. The conversation is abruptly interrupted. Crash and Bianca turn, alarmed by the sudden arrival of intruders on the balcony. A young noblewoman observes the scene with a serious, calculating expression. She assesses Crash from a distance as tension mounts in the ballroom. Crash faces his opponent with a calm sigh, appearing completely impassive to the provocation. He prepares for what's to come. A young nobleman points at Crash with disdain, questioning his fame. Beside him, Bianca Hardenhearts remains with a cold expression, indifferent to the commotion. The boy wonders if the rumors were false, but Crash smiles disdainfully. He knows the truth. It was his own adversary who spread the story of him being a failure. Enveloped in a dark aura, Crash extends his hand to his opponent. He declares with a smile that the rumors will change, for he will steal his ability. Crash recalls his history with Antix Cluser, an old friend. He bitterly reflects that Antix only kept him close as long as he was useful. The memory reveals the worst betrayal. Crash was used as bait and abandoned at a cliff's edge to face monsters, all due to Antix's schemes. A young nobleman reveals his sinister plan, stating he will blame Crash for everything. He is confident that, as Crash is hated by all, the truth will be easily covered up by authorities. With a cold smile, the boy thanks Crash for his friendship to the end. The falsity of the declaration shocks and enrages Crash, who reacts with disbelief and suppressed anger. Crash explodes, shouting they were never friends, and the boy only approached him for Charlotte. He accuses him of causing all this chaos due to an arranged marriage. The young man admits Crash's sharp intuition, but ends their relationship now that Charlotte is to be married. He turns to leave, coldly pondering if this isn't the best solution. With a sinister smile, a mysterious figure lurks behind a coffin. He muses that Charlotte wouldn't want a funeral alongside her wedding, revealing his dark intentions. The man's strength drains as he loses control, desperately questioning if this is his end. His mind echoes the humiliation of being called trash. In a dramatic rescue, Crash extends a hand, saving a blonde-haired figure from a fall, asking with concern if she's all right amidst the chaos. A young noble reflects on how Arthur's testimony caused the expulsion of a man named Anix. He seethes at Anix's desperate attempt to marry the princess. The rival provokes Crash, commenting on his resemblance to his sister Charlotte. Annoyed, Crash thinks to himself that the arrogant boy hasn't changed since the future he remembers. Shrouded in his dark aura, Crash decides to fight harder, reminding himself he's never faced a genius. He moves swiftly, dodging and blocking enemy attacks. The rival reveals his secret Kleiser family technique, the sky-felling wood style. He explains the ability strengthens and manipulates plants using his aura at will. With a sharp gaze and serious expression, Crash prepares for what's to come, fully focused on the imminent challenge. Anix attacks Crash, revealing he knows his pre-regression abilities and questions if he's thinking of Charlotte again. A woman watches the scene in utter astonishment, shocked by the sudden aggression unfolding before her eyes. She desperately screams for Lord Anix to stop the attack, while Crash stares at her with a cold, defiant expression. Crash recalls his ancestor's manual, a talentless swordsman who perfected a single strike. The technique required a state of unity, unattainable through brief study. With a mark glowing on his forehead, Crash reflects that his curse forced him into extreme situations, finally allowing him to comprehend the ancestral secret technique. He channels his power into a single devastating strike, the manifestation of a simple truth. The sword cuts through everything in its path with overwhelming force. The young noble is paralyzed in shock, eyes wide with disbelief. His powerful earth technique shatters before him, inexplicably. As his earth creation crumbles, he's interrupted by Crash's call. The simple word, "hey," completely shatters his concentration and air of superiority. With a gesture, Crash dispels the magic and warns his opponent with a cold, piercing gaze. He tells the boy to never be arrogant again. Crash's warning echoes with power, emphasizing his total domination of the situation. The phrase, "never be arrogant again," seals his rival's humiliation. After a huge impact, Crash stands, panting and exhausted amidst the debris. The ordeal left him visibly shaken, but he refuses to yield. In a close-up, Crash's gaze becomes sharp and focused. A subtle energy emanates from him, indicating he's preparing for whatever comes next. Suddenly, Bianca Hardenhearts embraces him from behind, completely surprising Crash. Her expression is serious, while he's shocked by the unexpected contact. The blonde-haired youth carries Crash, thinking he didn't plan such a grand event. He believes Crash will become a celebrity, but someone else's expression worries him. Under the moonlight, the blonde boy warns Crash he cannot die. He states Crash must first cooperate with his research, revealing his true motives. Crash wakes in his bed, sweating and exhausted, startled to see a hand offering him a bowl of medicine, confused by the situation. With a faint smile, Crash remembers the people he met before his regression, pondering the faces of his past. The image of one of his former companions appears in his mind. Her red eyes and empty expression reveal the weight of their past journeys. Crash reluctantly admits that, despite everything, Arthur was a hero who never let his guard down on the front lines, a bitter memory of his past. Back in the present, young Crash steps between his older brother and Bianca, protecting her with a defiant gaze and a firm stance. Utterly shocked by his younger brother's attitude, Crash's brother barely hides his surprise, letting out a nervous, incredulous laugh. Crash's brother reflects on the power of the Valheim family. He resents being treated as a mere supporting character in a drama that wasn't his. While his brother underestimates him, comparing him to a commoner, Crash seems unconcerned and oblivious to the schemes being plotted against him. He offers himself as Crash's guardian, thinking sarcastically that since he defeated Andras, a dangerous mission will be no problem. Crash smiles ironically, finding the situation curious. He wonders why a failure like him was brought to the first corroded zone, recalling how his pride was shattered then at 15. The memory of humiliation consumes him, and Crash grinds his teeth in pure fury. That traumatic moment becomes a catalyst for his current determination, visible in his intense gaze. Crash's older brother panics, his face sweaty and contorted in shock. The dark aura around him shows the pressure he feels seeing his plans challenged by his brother. Crash's blade slices the air, imbued with a glowing bluish energy. With swift, precise movements, he annihilates the swarm of monstrous insects, demonstrating combat skill far beyond his age. Crash's older brother tries to reassert control, shouting for his men not to be swayed by a child's words. He glares at Crash, who remains calm and confident, ready for confrontation. As his brother orders the attack, Crash thinks they will discover the truth themselves. Suddenly, he feels the world's corrosion energy, realizing an even greater threat rapidly approaches. Crash holds the container with the blood immersion poison, preparing for the painful ritual to come. The atmosphere is dense, anticipating the suffering needed to gain the power he so craves. The poison takes effect immediately and brutally. With eyes wide in pain, Crash collapses to the ground and spits a large amount of blood, screaming in agony as the substance courses through his body. Crash meditates, deciding to mix his aura with the corrosion's energy. He understands this fusion will create a completely new power, a direct consequence of his uncontrolled fury. With a sudden, intense focus, Crash's eye opens. The newfound clarity reveals the beginning of the painful physical price his body is about to pay. Gasping and exhausted, Crash stumbles forward, looking at his now bloodied hands. He realizes he only endured this ordeal by not being in his normal mental state. Shrouded in a blue aura, Crash explores a new ability. He defines it as a sixth sense, a supersensory perception that feels everything through the aura. With a confident smile, Crash clenches his fist. Even if it's a temporary solution, he feels prepared to move forward with his plan. Crash watches in shock as the dark energy intensifies, realizing his adversary has evolved. He can barely believe the monster has reached a new level for the first time. The creature reveals a grotesque form, a colossal arm with a human face at its tip. Young Crash confronts the bizarre apparition, measuring the scale of the danger. With a brutal blow, the monster hurls Crash to the ground. The force of the impact leaves him stunned, showing the immense power difference between them. Facing the enemies, Crash raises his gleaming sword and shouts for everyone to prepare for battle. The blue energy of his blade pulses intensely. Crash activates his Ignis ability, engulfing his body and sword in overwhelming flames, ready to unleash a devastating attack. An ally watches Crash's display of power in astonishment, realizing his destructive force is immense and far beyond what he imagined. Crash's brother subdues him, recognizing the fire ability that had burned him before. Arrogantly, he questions if Crash finally understands the overwhelming power difference between them. believing he has won the confrontation. Suddenly, Crash's brother's face contorts in pure agony as a dark, invisible force begins to crush him. He lets out a grunt of pain, caught off guard by the unexpected counterattack. The dark energy tightens around his brother's neck, suffocating him as he desperately struggles to breathe. Unable to react, he can only let out a muffled groan, completely defenseless against the curse. Dark tentacles capture the apprentices, who panic. One of them screams, desperate, that there's no way for them to escape the curse consuming them. Suddenly, Damaris Valheim emerges amidst intense flames with a fierce gaze. He prepares to intervene, channeling his firepower for the attack. Damaris leaps into the air, enveloped in a whirlwind of fire. With his flaming sword, he delivers a devastating blow against the monsters attacking the apprentices. The creature struck by Damaris's blow screams in pain as it is completely consumed by flames. The Elder's overwhelming power incinerates the enemy instantly. A colossal explosion of flames erupts on the battlefield, disintegrating everything in its path. The overwhelming force of Crash's attack creates the necessary chaos for his next action. Engulfed in fire, Crash shouts for his allies not to give up. He assures them he will create an opening, taking the lead of the attack with his overwhelming power. A young adversary is confused, as Crash's attention is elsewhere. He wonders if the true target is the thousand-faced demon, and not himself. Amidst the combat, Crash attacks the demon with his flaming sword, but stops upon noticing a bizarre detail. He wonders, shocked, if the creatures are, in fact, crying tears of blood. One of the demon's macabre faces cries black tears, confirming Crash's suspicion. He feels the situation is more dangerous than it seemed, as he realizes something is profoundly wrong. Feeling the anomaly might worsen, Crash decides the demon must be eliminated immediately. He advances with a powerful blow, ordering all knights to attack without hesitation. With eyes wide open in pure terror, Crash finally perceives the approaching menacing presence, leaving him completely paralyzed by the fear of the unknown. A dark hand forcefully grabs his face. In a panic, Crash wonders if the strange sensation he felt earlier was the omen of this attack. Fallen in the rain, Crash faces the princess's spirit, who mocks him. She questions how the strongest of Valheim is about to die, concluding it's because he's an idiot. The voice continues to torment him, calling him a failure for being surpassed by a junior. As Crash is subdued, the voice decrees that his failure will lead to his death. A devastating punch hits Crash squarely with overwhelming force, sending him flying backward. He can only let out a cry of pain before the relentless and sudden attack. With sweat pouring down, Crash reveals he possesses a deadly secret technique. He remembers it was a legacy left by his sister Charlotte, a trump card for a moment like this. A memory of Charlotte's affection emerges, contrasting with a knight's doubt. Crash questions if the technique inherited from his sister also possesses her emotions. Hidden in the rain with his brother, Crash stays alert as he senses a dangerous presence. He realizes the fearsome thousand-faced ghost is rapidly approaching. As the threat approaches, Crash's brother prepares for combat. His hand ignites with overwhelming power, ready to face the imminent danger. Crash focuses, unleashing a powerful blue aura that surprises his brother. His shocked gaze reveals he never expected such power from the boy. Crash's aura manifests on his sword with striking intensity. His brother, astonished, thinks he has never seen such pure energy before. Crash's brother confirms with a simple, "yeah," as his hand ignites in the rain. He prepares to unleash overwhelming firepower. With wide eyes, Crash watches the figure with the flaming sword and murmurs, "Brother." The sight paralyzes him, recalling a power he once feared. With a single, devastating flaming strike, Crash obliterates the threat, pondering if there is finally nothing left to do. The scene reveals Crash's older brother's sinister smile, a disturbing expression that hints at future betrayal. Crash advances, shouting, "Die," and his opponent despairs, realizing he cannot use Ignis. Crash ironically thanks him for being exactly the same as before, utterly predictable. With a wicked smile, Crash fully envelops himself in the newly acquired dark energy. He savors the power he just stole, feeling it flow through him. Crash recalls the conditions to steal Lord Belokin's ability. His pride had to be broken. The moment Belokin attacked, the Ignis ability became his. As a result, the Fire Golem, the manifestation of Belokin's power, begins to crumble into ash. The ability now answers only to its new master, Crash. Crash withdraws his flaming sword from Belokin's fallen body, coldly pronouncing the noble's name. The man's hostility sealed his fate, and now he pays the price for his betrayal. In a flashback, Crash recalls his childhood, where his desire to get along with his brothers never materialized. He was only reprimanded and warned not to do anything unnecessary. With fury, Crash steps on his enemy and stabs him, declaring the attack a direct response to his clear hostility. There is no hesitation in his fatal blow. With a disappointed look, Crash reflects that he had a small hope of being recognized this time. However, that hope was utterly crushed by the betrayal he suffered. As his opponent falls defeated, Crash remembers the agonizing pain he felt in the past. He recalls how he writhed when his arms and face were burned. Crash stands impassively over his fallen enemy. The dark aura around his face shows the overwhelming power he used to finally achieve his vengeance. With the battle ended and his adversary incapacitated, Crash remains silent. The dust of the fight settles around him, marking the end of a reckoning. Crash looks at the sky, reflecting on his victory. The empty expression on his face suggests that vengeance brought cold satisfaction, not joy. Upon encountering a grieving figure, Crash coldly declares that Lord Barokin's honorable death must not be in vain, manipulating the situation to his advantage. Satisfied, Crash concludes that his testimony was believed, eliminating any concerns about the matter. The first step of his plan appears to have been a complete success. Crash reflects on his new powers, confirming he can control his surges with his sixth sense. Through the Ignis ability, he discovers he is now capable of even conjuring black flames. Satisfied, Crash analyzes the black flames in his hand. He realizes the firepower exceeded his expectations and, despite the sinister color, will serve as an excellent asset for the future. He remembers the true nature of the problem, a world eroder. Trapped in an eternal dream, this being observes the real world through its monstrous minions, the undead. Crash cautiously advances through an opulent corridor, aware that his enemies have already moved. He prepares himself, believing he will soon encounter the undead minions. An investigator named Sapphira intercepts him, revealing she was awaiting him. She is shocked to see the Black Star, surprised to find him much sooner than expected. Ignoring Sapphira's surprise, Crash gets straight to the point without hesitation. With a serious expression, he firmly declares his desire to make a deal with her. With a confident smile, Crash points to Sapphira and reveals his shocking proposal. He offers a daring deal. In exchange for her help, he will erase her immortality. Chained in a hellish place, the immortal Damaris is revealed. Before the regression, an attempt to steal his power under Arthur's orders ended in failure, leaving him imprisoned. One of Crash's allies observes the scene, explaining that the immortal will be fully occupied regenerating. This will prevent him from commanding his subordinates, creating an opening for the group. A companion expresses a certain pity, explaining he cannot move due to a curse. This detail makes her feel unexpected empathy for the imprisoned enemy. Reacting to the compassion, another warrior reprimands her. She reminds her of all the trouble he caused by increasing the corruption zone's density, questioning any pity. Amidst a chaotic scene, a blonde-haired woman clasps her hands in prayer, asking them to stop the pointless argument. Her expression is one of sadness and resignation before the unfolding conflict. A sinister gaze is revealed in a close-up, with a demonic reflection in his red eye. He coldly declares the situation lamentable for his opponent, suggesting a cruel and inevitable fate. Crash laughs mockingly when confronted, admitting he indeed failed to steal immortality. His unconcerned attitude, however, suggests he still has a plan or a hidden advantage. With a serious and confident gaze, the adversary asserts the task would be impossible for Crash. He decrees that even if Crash were reborn, he couldn't achieve his goal, showing utter contempt for his ability. A vision of Crash's past reveals the impossible condition for his power. To unlock it, he would need to become stronger than the immortal himself. A mysterious voice questions him with a sinister smile, directly asking if he is a regressor and creating an atmosphere of imminent danger. Crash becomes visibly tense upon hearing the question that exposes his secret. He processes the word regressor, aware of the danger the revelation poses. The woman stares at him with a victorious smile, seemingly satisfied with his reaction. Her confident expression suggests she knows far more than she lets on. Damaris advances with a maniacal smile, calling Crash a liar. She refuses to believe a mere regressor could kill someone who, like her, transcends time itself. Crash retorts that it's no lie and unleashes his ability, Black Hood. Dark energy forms into a beast that attacks Damaris, with Crash asserting he can burn her soul. Wounded, Damaris reveals he increased the world's corruption to find someone capable of killing him. Now that he has found Crash, he finally asks what his conditions are for the deed. Crash demands Damaris help him grow stronger for his ability to work. Damaris understands he wants to be his disciple, a pact Crash accepts to shed his immortality. Crash positions himself with determination, planning his next move. He knows Crimson Garden's strength is his great chance to surpass Arthur and become stronger. Crash reflects on Crimson Garden's power, an entity strong enough to rival Arthur. He understands that with this cooperation, his own power will grow exponentially. With a confident smile, Crash extends his hand to seal their pact, naming the entity Crim. The red-eyed being reacts with surprise to the new partnership. With a snap of teeth, Crash displays a sinister and confident smile. His expression reveals cold determination, suggesting he's about to put a plan into action without hesitation. A red-haired woman forcefully grabs Crash's face, visibly irritated. With a dark aura, she demands he call her Master, establishing her dominance over the young man. Crash pulls away, relieved to finally be able to go home. The woman questions him, confused, asking why he says that if the mansion is already his home, exposing the distance between them. Surprised, Crash discovers that not only his mother, but also his father, the family head, wants to see him. He processes the shocking news that his father has reached the level of a demigod. Ignoring the order to stay in the main house, Crash decides he cannot waste time. He is focused on leaving, as Bianca awaits him and there are many things to be done. Finally on his way, Crash stretches out in relief inside the carriage, feeling free from his family's shackles. He wonders aloud if he is finally free to follow his own path. His peace is interrupted when a red bird abruptly enters through the window. Crash reacts in surprise, questioning his companion Crim if its color isn't too flashy for a discreet journey. A dark aura manifests as a crow, which boasts of being able to change color at will and questions if its new form isn't convincing. The crow taunts Crash, comparing its color to his eyes. Annoyed, Crash merely thinks of what an irritating subject the creature is. Accompanied by his crow, Crash looks out the window and has a sudden epiphany. He remembers a crucial detail for his plans, realizing he needs to act quickly to seize the opportunity. Crash reacts with surprise upon reading the letter he just received. His expression of shock and confusion reveals that the message's content is completely unexpected. The letter informs him that the medicine is ready, sent by a figure named Darling. Crash sighs, thinking that geniuses are often eccentric, and this person is no exception. Aliot instructs Crash to treat certain people with great care, as they will be his benefactors. The young master reacts with surprise, caught off guard by his butler's sudden and enigmatic guidance. A maid informs Crash that Bianca became very worried upon hearing of the incident. In a flashback, the young noblewoman, with a determined expression, demanded a carriage to go see him immediately at the main house. Crash is shocked to see the system notification. The first condition was fulfilled by becoming Bianca's friend, and her first key was finally unlocked. Outside, Crash approaches Bianca, who stares at him with curiosity. With a crow perched on his head, he prepares to introduce a new friend to her. Crash explains he merely wanted to introduce her to a new friend. The crow, which was previously on his head, spreads its wings in a dramatic gesture against the evening sky. Bianca holds the bird and formally introduces it as her new friend, Cream. Surprised, Crash merely repeats the name as he watches the unusual scene unfold. Crash watches Bianca affectionately hug the crow, commenting that she, after all, likes animals. The girl seems genuinely happy, showing an unexpected side of her personality as she clings to the dark creature. A system screen reveals to Crash the condition for the second unlock. To proceed, he must become Bianca's friend, a task that confronts him with a new, emotional, and unexpected mission. Crash reflects on what it means to be an important person, imagining different types of relationships. He becomes visibly nervous and confused as he ponders the nature of his future ties with Bianca. Suddenly, the crow struggles and tries to escape Bianca's arms, who reaches out in surprise. The creature seems to panic, interrupting the tender moment and leaving the girl confused by its reaction. Bianca stares at Crash with a penetrating and undecipherable gaze. Her neutral and mysterious expression makes it impossible for him to guess her true thoughts, creating a silent tension between the two. As the crow lands on Crash's head, it comments that the pale girl seems to have liked him, as she didn't let him go. The bird's unexpected observation leaves Crash intrigued. The crow reveals its true intention, declaring it wants to test Crash's strength and that the game is over. Its order to go to the training ground leaves Crash completely shocked and on alert. The monstrous form of Damaris Valheim hovers over Crash, declaring that pure talent is useless before him, as his abilities will not work. Despite the overwhelming pressure, young Crash faces his ancestor with a determined expression, preparing for the challenge to come. The ghostly image of Demaris manifests before Crash, enveloping him in a dark aura as it challenges him to steal its immortality. A few days later, a lively blonde-haired figure runs toward Crash with a smile on her face, cheerfully calling his attention. A blonde girl proudly displays a newly created potion to Crash. With a victorious smile, she excitedly announces, "Ta-da! It's ready!" showing the gleaming vial in her hands. Seeking validation, she asks Crash if he considers her a genius. He surprises her by casually replying, "Why state the obvious? You've always been a genius." In a playful gesture, the girl clings to Crash, who reacts by asking her to stop. She then remembers something important she needed to say, her expression suddenly changing. Crash dismisses her, telling her to go home if they're done. His thoughts, however, are elsewhere, pondering that Starlin has other concerns besides Valheim. An enigmatic figure appears before Crash, suggesting he ask the Star of Alchemy to prepare elixirs, a special medicine that boosts the physical attributes and aura of those who consume it. These elixirs are extremely expensive and rare items, as their secret manufacturing techniques are passed down through generations only within certain families, making them almost inaccessible. Suddenly, the figure kisses Crash's cheek, leaving him shocked as he asks what she's doing, while his crow watches the scene closely with its red eyes. Crash approaches a blonde boy with a direct and urgent request. He demands that the boy, who appears shocked by his intensity, immediately make him an elixir. In the garden, Crash turns to a crow and instructs it to repeat his words. He begins dictating the complex ingredients required for the elixir. Crash gestures as he explains the process to the blonde-haired boy, who looks confused. The boy listens with a surprised expression, trying to absorb the instructions. Crash, disguised as a crow, surprises Bianca by revealing a secret formula. He claims it's exclusive knowledge of the Valheim family, leaving her impressed by the privileged information he possesses. As she analyzes the formula in her notebook, Bianca is intrigued. She expresses a desire to test it, but her hesitation suggests that the necessary components are extremely rare and hard to find. Back in his human form, Crash decides his only option is to hunt down a black market dealer. Bianca, however, interrupts him, gesturing that she has a better idea. Bianca suggests he win the junior martial arts tournament to earn the Heart of Dragon. Crash reacts with disdain, reminding her that, as a Valheim, victory is certain. Crash stares at a transparent item he received, completely confused. He wonders aloud if the strange object should be drunk for the plan to work. Immediately after consuming the item, excruciating pain courses through his body. Crash screams in agony as a violent and unexpected transformation completely overtakes him. To his shock, he has become a girl. While his companion suggests he participate in the tournament like this, Crash, desperate, demands to be changed back. Enraged by the situation, Crash releases a dark, menacing aura, his eyes glowing. He confronts his companion, asking if this is a joke, leaving them terrified. In intense training, Crash is bombarded by blows his body cannot keep up with. Despite his sharp perception, his movements are still slow, resulting in a barrage of attacks. Panting, Crash understands that his mind has reached a state bordering on precognition. He can predict the enemy's movements, but his body still cannot react in time. With the solution to his problem in mind, Crash prepares for the next stage. He puts on his cloak and wonders if it's time to leave. Crash holds the disguise potion, which his ally assures him is undetectable. Using it, he will pose as a commoner to enter the tournament. To his shock, the potion transforms Crash into a girl. He discovers he'll be stuck with this appearance for an entire day, much to his ally's amusement. Already disguised, Crash is greeted by a man who is waiting for him. He calls him Master Crash, indicating it's part of the plan for his infiltration. Aliad, enveloped in an aura of power, assures Crash he can leave without worries. He swears to protect the house with his life, promising not to let anyone enter, even if it means defying the family head. The scene returns to the next day when Crash delivered the medicine to Aliad. The young master walks with a shrewd gaze, recalling the events that sealed his butler's unwavering loyalty. In a flashback, Aliad kneels before a young Crash, utterly shocked and grateful. Document in hand, he can barely express his gratitude for Crash having cured his daughter of a fatal illness. Crash thanks Bianca for accepting his request before his trip. Her face obscured by a hood, she silently stares at him, holding a basket. Bianca bids Crash farewell, noting it's been a long time since he's been home. She advises him to rest a bit before he leaves. With a warm smile, Crash agrees with her advice. He promises he'll try to return home as quickly as he can, reassuring her. Enveloped in a blue aura, Crash confirms his power flow is stable thanks to the sixth sense. He grows irritated, thinking about how the head of the merchant faction continues to avoid him. A girl relaxes while eating an apple, regretting not having absorbed any impure erosion on the way. She attributes this to Butler Aliad's competence. Suddenly, the girl is surrounded by bandits and panics. Shocked she hadn't sensed their presence, she fears her end has come. Crash glares at the bandits with a dark, malevolent aura emanating from his body. His intimidating presence and the purple power in his hand make it clear he's no ordinary child. Confused and enraged, the bandit leader yells for his men to attack. "What's with this kid? Get him!" he orders, as the group furiously charges Crash. In response, Crash materializes a massive sword of dark energy. He taunts his enemies, asking disdainfully, "Weapons? You mean these?" showcasing his superiority. Crash delivers a swift blow, wounding his opponent. The man, surprised, realizes his target is no ordinary child and prepares to fight seriously. The enemy promises to end it all in one blow, unleashing a powerful axe attack. To his surprise, Crash manages to block the impact head-on. Shocked, the man realizes his attack patterns were red. He accuses Crash of using a cheap trick, but the young man's confidence remains unshaken. Crash reveals his own skill, the Phantom Battle Axe. He surprises his opponent by manifesting a similar weapon, preparing for a devastating counterattack. Crash channels overwhelming energy into his blade, which transforms into a torrent of flames. An opponent watches, shocked, as the secret technique manifests before his eyes. The opponent is stunned, recognizing Crash's fire ability. Shocked, he accuses him of being a disciple of the fearsome Slaughterhound, linking him to an infamous figure. Amidst an explosion of flames, Crash wonders why the successors are in the lawless zone, questioning if it isn't too soon. With a determined gaze, Crash admits to himself that he has a bad feeling about this unexpected and dangerous situation unfolding. A red-haired young woman turns, surprised by the conversation beside her. The mention of an authority figure leaves her visibly tense and apprehensive, anticipating an unwanted reaction. Princess Cicely shouts for them to be silent about her father, imagining his fury. Her companion, however, tries to ignore the tension, treating the moment as an auditory hallucination. It's revealed in a flashback that Princess Cicely Ephania was a genius from age 7. Her intelligence was so remarkable it was believed she could rewrite the Empire's history. As Bianca studies diligently, an elder observes her talent and comments that they must inform Her Imperial Majesty about her, placing her in the political spotlight. With a fixed gaze, Bianca processes the idea of becoming an imperial candidate, understanding that such a position would place her in mortal danger. In an act of desperation, Bianca throws her studies aside, shouting that she needs to make everyone give up on her if she wants to survive. From then on, Bianca uses her brilliant mind to play the role of a wild and uncontrollable daughter, causing chaos to deter expectations. Influential nobles express their disappointment, giving up on a candidate for the throne, deeming her unsuitable. Their decision seems final, observing the unfolding events from above. As Crash Valheim walks through the crowd, his gloomy appearance breeds distrust. People see him as a villain, fearing his connection to the Empire's enemy family. Driven by curiosity, a young noble named Cicely leaps from the balcony, declaring she will investigate. Her attendant screams in panic, surprised by her impulsive action. Bianca Hardenhearts aggressively confronts Crash, shouting that she will expose his true identity. She is determined to unmask him in front of everyone present in the hall. After preventing Bianca's fall, Crash coldly warns her to watch her step. His unexpectedly calm and controlled demeanor leaves her perplexed in the middle of the hall. Bianca stares at him, intrigued by his composure. His calm manner of speaking and attitude make her suspect he is no ordinary person. Crash realizes Bianca recognized him and laments his bad luck. He would have preferred not to have encountered the fourth princess to avoid any complicated involvement with royalty. After finalizing his registration for the martial arts tournament, Crash faces a problem. All inns in the city are full, leaving him nowhere to spend the night. Unexpectedly, a kind lady approaches Crash. Learning he is participating in the tournament and has nowhere to stay, she offers a room in her own home. Despite his instinct and his raven warning him the offer is suspicious, Crash smiles innocently. He decides to accept the invitation to uncover the woman's true intentions. The raven mentally reprimands him, questioning why he would follow a stranger. Ignoring the warning, Crash follows the lady, consciously walking towards potential danger. Crash climbs the stairs, satisfied to finally have a place to sleep. However, he doesn't notice Bianca Hardenhearts watching him intently. Suddenly, Bianca confronts him with a malicious smile. Crash is shocked to realize it was a trap, while his raven laments his recklessness. Bianca approaches Crash, who remains indifferent. She questions why she is being ignored and jokes about his preferences. Bianca's taunt clearly irritates Crash. Beside him, she displays a satisfied smile, pleased to have provoked a reaction. Crash turns away, stating he has no obligation to answer. Bianca watches him, thinking he is as mysterious as his appearance suggests. Bianca tries to approach Crash, inviting him to eat, but he coldly ignores her and tells her not to follow him. Continuing down the stairs, Crash firmly rejects Bianca's offer, stating that her persistence is an annoyance. Suddenly, Bianca appears in front of Crash, eyes gleaming. She confronts him about his lineage and grasps him firmly. Crash feels a chill, panicking at the thought that his identity has been exposed. He wonders if someone from Starland managed to read him. Observing from above, Bianca reacts with indignation. She shouts, questioning who is being called a child, as she herself is one. Beside Bianca, her red-haired attendant looks at Crash with suspicion. She doubts the boy is truly from Starland. As Crash eats calmly, the girl explains that the Starland accent is unique, implying he doesn't possess it. The tension rises when a red-haired woman intervenes, stating that things have gotten interesting. She shifts focus and asks if they discovered anything about her sister, receiving a positive confirmation. The answer comes with an ominous image. The third princess, Sigrun, is a completely different person than she was a year ago. The sight of her and her companions makes the dangerous nature of this change clear. The perception of danger is immediate. An observer notes that Bianca is not acting like herself, and her crazed expression confirms that the situation has become extremely volatile and dangerous for everyone. Crash stands out in the arena, and the crowd watches him with suspicion, questioning if he is from the underworld. His raven, which never abandoned him during the fight, only deepens the mystery. Crash observes the opponents fallen on the arena floor. He is relieved that his power did not affect his participation in the preliminaries. A young man approaches Crash, scoffing at his victory. He claims it was natural to win, as the opponents were weak. The boy then points to the raven on Crash's shoulder, calling it suspicious and leaving Crash confused by the accusation. A bandaged, scar-ridden boy confronts Crash. With a confident smile, he asks if Crash belongs to the famous assassin family, Night Raven, revealing his knowledge of the underworld. Crash reflects in silence, admitting to himself that he'd never heard of a Night Raven member entering the academy. He remains cautious, hidden beneath his hood, analyzing the situation. The boy recoils exaggeratedly, explaining that he just wanted to get along with another underworld resident. His reaction seems like an awkward attempt to break the ice with the wary Crash. Moving away, the boy bids farewell animatedly, shouting, "Nice to meet you, Night Raven." Crash watches him leave, still processing the unexpected encounter with someone who knows his supposed identity. Crash feels a sudden presence behind him and turns to find a mysterious raven with glowing red eyes. The creature emerges from the shadows, watching him in silence before making its move. Crash praises the versatility of his new ally, Krim. The raven reveals it used a simple brainwashing spell to subdue the bandaged man, who is now under its control with empty eyes. Krim interrogates the controlled man about Night Raven's whereabouts. The answer is shocking. The organization plunged into a crisis of destruction recently, catching the raven by surprise with the news. Crash's shadowy figure manifests, emanating a powerful aura. The being before him, confused and intimidated by the new presence, questions who the new master taking control might be. The identity of the previous master is revealed in a glimpse, the second prince of the Ephania Empire. Crash is shocked to realize it's Sigrun and Cicely's brother. Crash comprehends the truth behind the organization, visualizing the city caught in a web. The Night Raven was an imperial trap to track and control the movements of nobles. In a pool of blood lies the body of the fourth princess, Cicely Ephania. She is revealed as the one who committed suicide after attacking the Emperor, a figure whose ruin was orchestrated by others. Questioned about the fate of the bandaged man, Crash coldly dismisses him. He states that the man has already served his purpose and is no longer useful to them. The Raven entity then decides to transform the man into its servant. The bandaged man screams as he is overwhelmed by a dark and unexpected power. As the new servant walks away, the Raven entity asks Crash what their next step will be. The duo now needs to decide their next move together. Crash covers his face, looking exhausted and pensive, with the Raven beside him. He ponders their next action, feeling the weight of his recent decisions. Crash, disguised, confronts a mysterious figure. He is shocked to be called by his old nickname, Crepe. a question that catches him completely off guard and connects him to a forgotten past. The man's face contorts in fury upon remembering the name. He violently grabs Crash, rage etched on his face, indicating that the encounter will be anything but friendly. The scene shifts to the arena, where the crowd roars with the arrival of the Night Raven. A spectator comments that it was about time the true hero appeared, as Crash observes the crowd with his raven. Bianca confronts Crash, calling him Night Raven and asking if he came to apologize. He surprises her by invading her room, announcing he knew about the preliminaries. Bianca observes him and thinks he's just a child, irritating him. Crash glares at her disdainfully, internally questioning her gaze. Holding Bianca, Crash warns her to protect herself. He then abruptly walks away, saying he needs to rest for the next day's main event. A blue-haired girl calls out for Sarah, who stares back with a worried and distrustful expression, sensing something is about to happen. With a cunning smile, the girl thanks Crash, finding the name Night Raven cool. She deduces that Cicely has realized Sigrun's plan. Crash approaches a mysterious figure in a dark hallway, who interjects with a "hey," breaking the silence and starting the confrontation. The ragged individual glares at him with contempt, sarcastically questioning if he enjoys pretending to be the real Night Raven, revealing his distrust. Crash felt an eerie sense of familiarity, recalling a bandaged opponent. A confident smile spread across his face as he grasped the connection, finding the situation unbelievable. The burly man grabs Crash's blades with his bare hands, thinking it won't be a big deal to catch them. His fists begin to glow with a menacing red energy. Laughing hysterically, the opponent unleashes red energy claws and mocks Crash. He arrogantly asks if this is where it all ends for the boy, certain of his imminent victory. Ignoring the provocation, Crash lunges in a blink of an eye. He delivers a devastating punch directly to the opponent's face, who is caught off guard by the brutal and bloody impact. Crash points at the necromancer Ebelask's chest, making a bold promise. He states that, with his skill, he will recover the heart that was stolen from her long ago. In exchange for his help, Crash demands that Ebelask reveal all details about Sigrun's plan. His offer to restore her is not free, and he makes his conditions clear. A past memory shows how the necromancer Ebelask, cursed and heartless, was recruited by Arthur. He considered her a useful tool for his own dark objectives. In a dusty room, a hooded figure reprimands the frightened girl, telling her she needs to be bold. She trembles under a sheet, shocked by the mess around her and the intimidating presence. The figure grabs the girl's chin, forcing her to look at him. He states he will make her witness his skill with her own eyes, a demonstration of power to end her stubbornness. Surrounded by ethereal chains symbolizing overwhelming power, the girl finally yields. In a cry of despair and acceptance, she declares she entrusts everything to the hooded figure. In a shadowy form, Crash confronts the chained girl, Eberask, and urges her to imagine a life without suffering. He asks if she is tired of her current existence, exploiting her despair. Eberask screams in agony, refusing to work any longer. Crash approaches, asserting that this is the sound of her soul and that he hears her true desire. Desperate, Eberask offers her heart in exchange for freedom. Crash refuses the simple offer, explaining that the exchange must be for her deepest and truest desire. Crash extends his hand, asking her to trust him. In tears, Eberask finally screams her desire to never work again and begs him to take her heart. Shrouded in a dark aura, Crash smiles with satisfaction. A mysterious voice congratulates him and declares that Ebelask has been freed, successfully concluding a crucial part of his pact. The purple energy dissipates as Crash confirms the ritual's success. He declares with a smile that Eberasuku is now free as promised, finalizing the first stage of his plan. In a dark library, the girl demands her heart back. Crash, however, coldly reminds her that it's an exchange and she must fulfill her part of the agreement first. A young girl cries, sitting on the library floor. Amidst her despair, she wonders what Sigrun Ephania's true plans are. The swordswoman is wounded and in shock, revealing a terrible order. She will be killed so her corpse can be used to assassinate Cicely Ephania. A man in a dark cloak cuts down Sarah Barra with his blade, declaring she should be proud to be a sacrifice. She falls, defeated, as her title, Mad Blade, echoes through the bloody scene. In a memory, a day before the destruction, a white-haired woman proposes a meeting. She suggests they meet in front of the Statue of Peace on the first Saturday after the crackdown. It is night and the woman continues to search for Arthur, wondering where he could be. Holding on to faith, she decides she must believe in him and wait, just as Lady Sioran advised her. A masked woman with a spear emerges, blocking the path of a burly man. The atmosphere immediately becomes tense with the unexpected encounter in the deserted street. The scene reveals the figures influencing the events, a stern-eyed woman and a hooded youth, whose presence is announced by a shadowy raven. After a veiled warning, the man, Eberasuku, hastily agrees and withdraws. The woman watches him leave, having reaffirmed her complete control over him. The crowd goes wild as Night Raven finally draws his sword for the first time. Everyone wonders if the mysterious boy is truly as strong as the rumors say, creating immense anticipation. The opponent is shocked to see Crash block every attack, reading his movements perfectly. Crash reflects that, for one who has died once, he is essentially a ghost in this fight. Crash reveals he knows his opponent deeply, having observed him for a long time in the past. He claims to know his feints, attack habits, and even his final move, holding a total advantage in the fight. Recalling a teaching about leaving a seed of hope even in defeat, Crash delivers a decisive blow. He uses the inch force technique to impact his adversary with full power and finish the combat. With his enemy defeated on the ground, Crash raises his weapon in a gesture of silent victory. The announcer declares him the winner, confirming the surprising battle outcome for the arena. Leaving his disguise behind, Crash walks away from his fallen opponent, confirming they will meet at the academy. The defeated man remains on the ground, processing the outcome. From afar, a mustached man observes the arena scene with a serious gaze. Crash's actions seem to have attracted the attention of important figures. The ceremony is abruptly interrupted by the arrival of the Black Dragon Knights, leaving everyone perplexed. The Order, known for punishing criminals, heads directly to the second prince, Selson Ephania. The Knight leader stares at the prince with a cold gaze and informs him of the grave accusation. He is being arrested on suspicion of having murdered the fourth princess, Cicely Ephania. Surrounded and cornered, Prince Selson reacts with utter disbelief and rage. He shouts, questioning why on earth he would murder his own sister, whom he calls an idiot. Meanwhile, Mary Diana is stunned as she notices a discrepancy in her memories of the future. She remembered Cicely had been the victim of an assassin, but now everything seems different. The red-haired woman shows her apprehension with a serious look. The doubt about trusting an imperial spy weighs on her mind, questioning the security of their risky alliance. Mary Diana stares at the scene in shock, realizing the terrible truth. She laments not having believed it sooner, as she now sees that all the spies they planted in the palace have turned against them. As she is surrounded by dark energy, Sarah Batera has a bad feeling and tries to flee. She feels she needs to reach Siegfried quickly, but danger reaches her first. Crash's Raven appears, speaking directly into her mind. It offers the temporary power of immortality in exchange for her life force, instructing her to pretend to be dead. The dark energy of the pact violently envelops her, and Sarah screams in agony. The unknown force dominates her as the power is transferred, causing overwhelming pain. Faced with an approaching spectral enemy, Sarah processes the bizarre order. She questions the idea of pretending to be dead, terrified by the imminent threat before her. Crash vividly recalls the betrayal of his former companion, Mary Diana. He remembers the exact moment she pierced him with her weapon, a deadly attack that almost cost him everything. In the present, a knight is shocked to be confronted. He is publicly accused of espionage, with a direct order for his immediate arrest, unmasking the enemy infiltration. From the shadows, the conspirator laments his plan's failure. His spies neutralized, his assassination target still alive, his strategy utterly thwarted. Cursed chains coil around a hand as an order to kill the princess echoes in the target's mind. He panics, unsure how to act, for his own death has not yet been decreed. Ebelask, now bound by chains, screams she cannot resist the order. In despair, she calls for Crash's help as guards try to protect the royalty, labeling her a monster. In a swift, shocking move, a hand pierces someone's abdomen. Dark purple energy emanates from the wound, signaling a sudden powerful attack to neutralize the threat. Suddenly, a girl finds herself surrounded by monstrous, shadowy figures materializing around her. She stares, confused and scared, not understanding the origin of those grotesque creatures. Annoyed, Charlotte decides she will handle the princess herself. Seeing everyone distracted, Crash realizes this is his only precious chance to act unnoticed. Utilizing the world's fastest skill, Crash moves like a golden bolt of energy. He appears before his target in a blink, successfully executing his plan. Exhausted, Crash covers his mouth, trembling. He barely blocked the attack with his black flame and admits to himself he's still far from the master level he needs to reach. Inside a carriage, the princess regrets not thanking Crash. Determined, she decides she must follow him to the academy to repay her debt. Crash reflects on his movement skill while traveling. He acknowledges it would be incredibly useful if not for so many restrictions, like only being able to teleport living people short distances. Outside the carriage, Crash is confronted with an enigmatic remark, being called the World Eroder. He is confused, questioning the meaning of that unexpected title. Crash suddenly enters the room, apologizing for interrupting the deep thoughts of whoever is there. He explains he needs to share urgent information that cannot wait. The scene abruptly shifts to Bianca, fallen and unconscious in the snow. A sinister voice from a raven reveals something happened to Crash's fiancée. Back to Crash, a raven lands on his shoulder as he reacts with shock. He can barely believe the news that his fiancée, Bianca, is in trouble. Crash grinds his teeth with a furious expression. The sudden trip to Hardened Hearts seems to awaken painful memories and a dark determination, reminding him of a past conflict. The carriage speeds forward as the decision is announced. "We're going to Hardened Hearts right now!" An order that echoes, putting everyone on alert for the sudden journey. Accompanying Crash, his companion is shocked by the news. "Wait, you're an eroder and have a fiancé?" she asks, processing the information that the girl lives in Hardened Hearts. She then recalls rumors about the youngest Valheim son's engagement. Horrified, she thinks no family would marry their daughter to someone from such a terrifying lineage. Enveloped in an aura of power, Crash reveals his identity. Confidently, he declares himself the youngest son of the powerful Valheim family. The revelation leaves Bianca in shock. In her lap, a true heart appears, symbolizing the gravity of a sworn oath. The heart pulses vividly, a macabre and undeniable testament to the power and determination Crash now commands. As Bianca climbs the snow-covered mountain, her sister laments. She hadn't believed Bianca would truly try to find the snow sun fungus alone, with just a book. A flashback shows Bianca, days earlier, leading her group in the snow. She shouted she would get what Crash Valheim wanted so they could finally go home. Amidst the snow, Bianca turns with a determined look, asserting to her companion that Crash is no failure. Her defense is firm, showing her unwavering trust in him. Her brother scolds her, saying she should have left the mission to the search party. He yells nervously that the choice was hers and it's none of his business. His rage swells, and he orders Bianca away, stating he no longer wishes to see her. She stares at him in silence, enduring his harsh words in the biting cold. Bianca reveals the painful truth, saying he hates her for believing she caused her mother's death. She apologizes and promises to return once she finds the snow sun fungus. Amidst the snow, one of Bianca's guards clenches his fist, feeling powerless. He laments that things shouldn't have ended this way, foreseeing a tragic outcome for his protective mission. Crash emerges in a blur of red energy, violently striking down the assailants. Amidst the chaos, he turns to Bianca and her company, casually asking if he can join the fight. Crash holds one of the attackers with contempt, finding the whole situation annoying. As the man begs the ladies to flee, Crash thinks that despite the bother, today is his lucky day. Wounded in the snow, Bianca refuses to die in a place like this. Amidst her despair, a sudden idea sparks in her mind, shifting her focus. Crash points to a distant ledge across the chasm, revealing his audacious plan. He states with conviction that they will jump there. Seeing Bianca's shocked expression, Crash insists they will die anyway if they stay. The jump is the only chance they have left. A mysterious man with an axe advances through the snow, addressing the girls menacingly. He warns them of danger and invites them closer with a sinister tone. When the girls try to flee, the man stomps fiercely, raising a massive ice wall to block them. He confronts them angrily, asking if they are tired of living. As the pursuer prepares to attack, saying the hunt looks fun, Bianca tries to calm her friend. She asks Jenica to trust her, despite the imminent danger. Suddenly, an unexpected action leaves Jenica in utter panic, and she screams for them to wait. Her face shows pure shock, not understanding what is happening around her. Crash is thrown back and desperately screams for Bianca as she falls into the abyss. The last thing she remembers is seeing him before everything went dark. As Bianca's brother weeps in despair, Crash remains by his side, observing the scene with a cold, unwavering expression, rage building within him. A dark aura emanates from Crash's eyes. He processes the tragedy in silence, his determination for revenge growing stronger and colder with each passing second. Crash is suddenly alarmed, a dark aura emanating from his hand. He seems to have sensed that something terrible is happening elsewhere, leaving him tense and worried. In a cabin, a young woman furiously scolds a man, yelling at him to stop saying such irresponsible things. Her determined expression shows the gravity of their argument. The man worries, thinking there's no way Bianca, who only reads books, can survive in the mountains. A vision shows her falling, desperately thinking, "I want to see you." Bianca feels her body reaching the limit of exhaustion in the snow. However, she checks her legs and feels relieved that they seem to be fine now. While heading to higher ground to send a rescue signal, Bianca stumbles upon a clearing. She discovers a place where the snow sun fungus grows in abundance. Approaching, Bianca feels the warmth emitted by the plant. She picks up one of the fungi and confirms that, true to its name, it naturally radiates heat, offering momentary relief. Hidden in a cave, Bianca uses a survival book to treat her wounds and find food. She warms herself, trying to regain strength in the frozen landscape. Despite her efforts, the cold and lack of nutrition push Bianca to her limit. She feels her consciousness slipping away, doubting she can hold on much longer. As she walks in search of something to eat, a sinister voice declares that her journey has come to an end. Bianca is cornered, with nowhere left to run. In a snowy landscape, young Bianca apologizes to a squirrel. She needs to borrow what it has stored, showing her determination despite the harsh situation and intense cold. After a sudden attack, Bianca hides behind a tree, clutching the nuts she managed to gather. Her expression is one of caution and worry as snow continues to fall around her. A masked man emerges, surprised by Bianca's resistance, whom he calls a frightening brat. He grumbles that he didn't expect the subdims to be so much trouble. A hooded man strangles Bianca, telling her she should have stayed quiet like a normal hostage. He warns her that, due to her stubbornness, she might not return home whole. As her consciousness fades, Bianca remembers the happy days at Green Pine Mansion. She only wants to go home, to the time when she read books while Crash trained. Still in her assailant's grip, Bianca realizes how precious those days were. With a tear streaming down her face, she desperately calls Crash's name in her mind. Suddenly, Crash appears with a devastating punch, shattering the enemy's attack. He arrives at the last second to save Bianca from certain death, interrupting her assailant. Crash suddenly appears in the snowy landscape, knocking down an assailant. The man, surprised on the ground, screams, not understanding who attacked him so abruptly. Crash holds the exhausted Bianca in his arms, praising her effort. He reassures her, telling her to leave the rest to him, ready to confront the threat. With a dirty face and a tear streaming, Bianca shows profound relief. Exhausted, she can finally relax, knowing Crash has arrived to protect her. In a blood-stained snowy field, a hooded figure confronts Crash. He deduces the boy used teleportation to arrive, stating he could no longer merely observe the situation from afar. A grim voice echoes, questioning Crash's previous victory as pure luck. With the image of a monster in his mind, he is challenged. Can he truly defeat a stronger enemy? Countering the doubt, a masked ally suddenly appears. He asserts with conviction that brute force isn't the only metric that matters, even when facing a savage opponent like a hunting dog. Enveloped in a dark aura, Crash declares he will be the victor. The wolf-skinned warrior, surprised, questions who the boy is and why he's interfering in his battle. Crash reveals a snowflake ornament, stating it belongs to his fiancée. He names his adversary, Butcher Dog Bergman, making it clear the fight is personal and inevitable. After the strong impact of the exchange of blows, Bianca recovers and loses sight of Crash. Confused, she looks around the snowy landscape, wondering where he disappeared. Still smelling Crash nearby, Bianca anxiously searches for him in the snow. Suddenly, he emerges from the ground right beneath her, launching a devastating surprise attack. Bianca finds herself immobilized by a strange red aura, a technique called phantom binding. Shocked and confused by the situation, she wonders what kind of power this is. In a snowy landscape, Crash faces an enemy with an axe who arrogantly challenges him. The opponent questions if the young boy has the strength needed to withstand his imminent attack. Crash decides to deceive his opponent with a false sense of security. He advances, determined to end the fight and send his enemy to the afterlife before the search party arrives. The masked opponent attacks Crash from behind, admitting in thought that his previous stance was just a bluff to create an opening for the attack. The adversary analyzes the combat, realizing that Crash's movements are abnormal and that the phantom binding ability won't hold him for long. Amidst the violent clash of their weapons, the opponent warns himself, concluding he must not recklessly approach such a dangerous target. Crash stares at his adversary in silence, who grows irritated by the lack of reaction to his provocations, beginning to question his own tactics. The opponent decides to pressure Crash until he collapses, invoking his Phantom War Axe to create an endless torrent of illusions. Observing the battle from afar, one of the crows panics upon seeing the situation. He fears that, if this continues, Crash will surely die. As a white-haired figure sits calmly in the snow, a massive shadow violently crashes beside them. Despite the impact, they remain motionless, kicking up debris everywhere. With a face full of determination, the girl decides to act. She declares she cannot abandon her benefactor, preparing to face the consequences of her risky choice. The small, bespectacled bird desperately tries to join the fight to help Crash. He is stopped and cries for them to wait, feeling powerless as he watches his friend in danger. A larger crow emerges and stops the small bird from advancing. It mentally warns him not to interfere, as the battle unfolding in the snow is Crash's choice. As Crash fights with fury, covered in blood and flames, the crow watches. It reiterates that Crash chose to fight alone, and this is a testament to his determination. The crow stares at the small bird and reminds him to trust Crash, the man who saved him. It asserts that Crash possesses the mental strength to overcome this challenge. Exhausted, Crash kneels with his sword, admitting he's reached his limit. His opponent, Damaris, plans to resurrect him as a corpse should he die in battle. With his aura depleted, Crash recognizes he must now fight with pure instinct alone. He advances, swinging his flaming sword against the impending attack. Realizing the axe was merely an illusion, Crash turns in shock. The spectral figure of Damaris materializes behind him, ready to strike. Damaris declares it's the end for Crash as a giant energy axe descends upon him. Young Valheim looks up, paralyzed by terror. Crash reveals he's been hiding his power until now. With a furious cry, he activates a Ruptura Forzada, engulfing himself in intense flames to surpass his limits. Crash knows his Erosao Apagafogo state lasts only 3 seconds. With determination, he vows to end the fight within this short, dangerous time frame. The shadowy creature is shocked by the attack's speed, screaming, "What?" in utter disbelief. It cannot believe Crash's sudden burst of power. Crash strikes with a flaming punch, and the creature, sensing imminent death, thinks, "I'm going to die." The Vaz Phantasma ability echoes with the devastating impact. Engulfed in flames, Crash rages for not hitting the vital spot. He thinks in frustration, "Damn it, I aimed for the neck," realizing the blow wasn't fatal. Crash recovers, realizing the creature's sound blurred his vision and diverted his aim. He groans in pain, frustrated his plan was foiled at the last second. An enemy hand glows with red energy, preparing a deadly strike. The aura of power crackles in the air, announcing a devastating attack against Crash. Sensing imminent death, Crash refuses to die this way. He unleashes an explosion of dark energy in a desperate counterattack to survive. At the battle's climax, Crash's eyes transform. An intense blue light erupts, revealing the awakening of a new and mysterious power. Watching from afar, a crow and a penguin react with surprise to the sudden change on the battlefield. The crow murmurs, shocked, "This is..." In a state of extreme concentration, Crash's consciousness expands, reaching the realm of unity with the world. His spiritual form glows with power, preparing for the decisive attack. His eyes glow with overwhelming energy, the pure manifestation of his newfound power. His entire being is focused on a single purpose, the complete annihilation of his opponent. The attack is overwhelming, and the enemy only has time to think, "I lost," before being completely disintegrated. The word vanish echoes as the body dissolves into light and blood. Crash is violently thrown by a powerful ice attack, his body slicing through the air amidst a spray of blood. The brutal blow leaves him completely subdued by his opponent's overwhelming force. Suddenly, a figure with red hair and demonic horns appears, expressing shock at the battle's unfolding. Beside them, a red-eyed crow observes intently, indicating a mysterious connection. In a distressing close-up, Crash bleeds from his eyes, his face contorted in agony. The pressure of the power he faces is immense, pushing his body beyond all physical limits. Kneeling in the snow, an arm torn away, Crash reflects on the cost of victory. He understands that for the weak to overcome the strong, a heavy and painful sacrifice is inevitably required. Exhausted in the snow and surrounded by bodies, the dark power dissipates from Crash's hand. A mysterious raven watches him, marking the end of the bloody battle. The raven stares at Crash, wounded and with his head bowed, and directly asks if he is finally satisfied with the outcome of his fury. The meeting was set for the final goodbye between Crash and Bianca, following their family's tragedy. Breaking the silence, he mentions the tea is excellent, despite the tension in the air. Crash explains that Bianca has endured the curse for too long for a simple snowman to work. He then absorbs the dark energy with his own hand, demonstrating his mastery over the power. 3 years later, in Hardenheart's territory, the war rages on. A soldier, exhausted by the unending conflict, shouts his frustration at the falling snow, questioning when the fight will end. A man explains that the war began when the Empire's second prince sought asylum in Hardened Hearts. The listener absorbs the grim history, the cold snow mirroring the gravity of the situation. To silence the prince, the Empire sent the Poison King, who drove the Hardened Hearts patriarch mad. This atrocity caused a massacre and sparked the conflict that plagues everyone. He recalls that the White Ghost, one of the 10 great sovereigns, took revenge by killing the Poison King. Since then, their group has hidden in the North Sea Ice Pavilion. Amidst a lament for the war's end, a sudden explosion interrupts him. He furiously questions the recklessness of the Starland soldiers who attack a supposedly safe area. Before an imposing snow-covered castle, Crash ponders his situation, wondering if his only option truly is to ask Bianca for help. With urgency, Crash pounds on the frozen gate, yelling Bianca's name in despair, begging her to open it and let him in. The scene that greets him is terrifying. Bianca is mortally wounded, a sword plunged into her chest, and with her last breath she calls for Crash. Crash is completely paralyzed, his face contorted in shock and horror as he witnesses Bianca's fatal condition right before him. With tears in her eyes, Bianca finally understands that her sister truly loved her. She remembers feeling nothing at her death, an emptiness now filled by belated pain. Tormented, Bianca laments that her emotions didn't awaken sooner. She believes that if she could feel, perhaps the family tragedy could have been avoided and shared. Bianca suddenly wakes in a luxurious room, surprised by a raven's presence. Confused, she wonders if she was taken to Hardened Hearts territory and how she got there. As Bianca comforts him, Crash smiles in relief, thanking her. He says that with her help, he can finally create the elixir he so desperately needs to fully heal. Bianca reflects on her desire to share all emotions with Crash. She concludes that if he cannot smile, neither will she, solidifying their promise to be together through everything. Bianca confronts Crash, asking him to satisfy her curiosity while activating her ice magic. Crash accepts the challenge, unaware she planned to provoke him from the start. During the clash, a vision of a young Crash, wounded but with a gentle smile, appears. The image of his past innocence seems to have a strong impact on Bianca. In another room, a white-haired young woman reacts suddenly, surprised by what might be the power unleashed in the confrontation. She wonders, astonished, what is happening. Crash observes Bianca, recalling that in his past life, Jenica apologized to her around this same time. He wonders if history will repeat itself. Anticipating the situation, Crash advises Bianca not to feel obligated to forgive. He tells her to simply ignore the person if she doesn't feel comfortable. Determined to uncover the truth, Crash steps away and summons his familiar, Ebelask. He whispers that he needs its ears to eavesdrop on the conversation. The crow taunts Crash, stating he's in no position to worry about his fiancée, as he doesn't even have an arm to protect her. With its red eyes glowing, the crow questions if Crash truly believes he can steal its immortality, yet acknowledges his cunning as a returner. Crash smiles confidently, agreeing with the crow's taunt. He states that his precarious condition is precisely what made him devise a plan. The red-haired man is shocked by the crow's proposal, questioning if it truly wants him to exchange something. The idea seems unbelievable and visibly disturbs him. With a grim look, Crash confirms that the recruitment of a certain individual was intentional. His determined expression suggests a complex plan is underway. Ebelask, the expert, is slightly flustered by the sudden request, but admits that sewing a dead man's arm would be an easy task for her. Her skill is unquestionable. Crash confronts the other with a sneer, questioning who told him about the arm. He coldly reveals his source of information was the Sword Demon. Crimson Garden, in its crow form, screams furiously. It refuses to hand over the Sword Demon, declaring it was its masterpiece and it wouldn't let Crash have him. Crash provokes the crow, asking to be raised with the same care. The creature retorts that this was precisely why it always favored the Sword Demon. With a cunning smile, Crash muses that finding Crimson Garden's weakness, its main body, is in fact a rather simple task. Crash's explanation continues, revealing that Crimson Garden sees the world through its subordinates, leading it to unconsciously grow attached to them. A bystander observes the endless scene of torture and healing, shocked by the method's cruelty. He can only think how monstrous the situation is, feeling a chill at what he sees. With a determined look, Crash reveals his plan to bring back his ancestors' legendary technique. His confidence shows he's ready for the challenge ahead. Crash bids farewell with a warning, telling them not to use his true name out of self-interest. He then leaves with a smile, stating he's going for a walk, leaving the others behind. Crash observes his freshly bandaged arm, considering the situation resolved for now. The injury was treated, but the challenges that led to it are far from over. Crash faces the future, visualizing the enemies towering over Hardenheart's mansion. The sinister image foreshadows the dangers and conspiracies he will need to confront. At his desk, Aleod worries about the consequences of his actions. He fears his lie will be discovered, thinking, "He'll find out I was in Hardenheart's." Amidst shattered fragments, of Valheim's fury echoes. Hardenheart's pathetic security allowed the butcher dog to place a direct descendant in mortal peril. Noticing Bianca's great change, Crash is perplexed when she approaches and, blushing, suggests they marry. The direct proposal leaves him utterly speechless, caught off guard by her demeanor. Crash emerges from the snow, feeling the intense cold in his body. He reflects on his recklessness, admitting to himself that the reality of being an idiot hasn't changed, despite everything. He feels relieved to confirm that the Snow Doll's curse worked as expected. Thanks to it, the flow of the extreme blood poison in his body was finally neutralized. His technique, Fire Erosion, uses erosion energy as fuel to surpass physical limits. However, the price is high. Total incapacitation when the effect ends. Fallen in the snow, young Crash feels the power draining from his body. Exhausted, he reaches out, realizing he can't maintain the ability for much longer. He reaches for the sky, frustrated. Crash reflects that if he could regulate the intense heat, he could use his power for a much longer period, without exhausting his body. A memory of Damaris surfaces in his mind amidst an inferno of flames. Crash recalls the lesson about using cold energy to control fire. The image of his master, Damaris, confidently smiling while manipulating flames, inspires Crash. He understands that control is the key to true power. With a confident smile, Crash sets his next target. Once his cursed arm heals, he plans to steal the Flame Emperor's curse, transforming it into his own strength. At the entrance, they are greeted by an unusual figure, a maid with rabbit ears. A status window reveals her as number 8 of Ebelask's Undead Legion. A mage prepares for combat, shouting, "All right, let's begin!" An aura of dark red energy explodes from her hands, indicating the battle is about to start in full force. The attack is unleashed with overwhelming force. The image blurs with impact and blood, showing the violent, immediate result of the spell cast against its target. Crash's hand trembles uncontrollably, enveloped by a sinister purple aura. He realizes with horror the nature of the attack, an extreme blood poison now coursing through his body. Crash fights the pain as the blood poison consumes his arm. He focuses, knowing he must use the venom itself to regulate the power and not lose control during absorption. Successfully, the transformation completes, and the dark energy dissipates. Crash clenches the fist of his new arm, feeling the newfound power with a confident smile on his face. A girl reacts with extreme admiration, calling him Lord Krim, with hearts in her eyes. Utterly confused by the new title, Crash merely questions what she meant by Lord. A red-haired demon begins to explain the Sword Demon's technique. He states that while Quick Draw may seem similar, it is an ability of an entirely different nature. With a confident smile, Crash observes the technique. He is determined to master the power he just witnessed and use it for his own ends. In a memory, Damaris Valheim reflects on the power of the Sword Demon's arm, recognizing it as the totality of his master's technique. Days pass, and Crash trains ceaselessly, enveloped in a blue aura. He is focused on replicating the technique he witnessed, determined to master it. Crash's aura erupts with vibrant blue energy. He channels his power, preparing for a swift advance and a decisive attack that will change the tide of battle. His sword is enveloped by the same powerful aura, shining intensely. The weapon seems to contain immense force, ready to be unleashed in a devastating final blow. With a look of pure determination, Crash lunges forward in a blur. His powerful strike tears through the ground, unleashing an overwhelming wave of energy against the enemy. The attack culminates in a blinding explosion of light. The force of the blow is so immense it momentarily blinds, showcasing the level of power Crash has finally achieved. Crash observes his hand enveloped in a blue aura, reflecting that the problem he faces must be related to controlling his own energy. A powerful masked servant introduces herself. Her thoughts reveal that, as a single-digit number, she possesses the strength of a master-level fighter. A sinister figure orders her to protect Patriarch Diarican from the Poison King. The woman reacts in shock, questioning the order to face one of the 10 great sorcerers. Despite the initial shock, she comically ponders that if it's merely to protect the Patriarch, she might just manage the mission. Aleod glares at Crash with a dark gaze, confirming he is now on his enemy's radar. He reveals that not only he, but also Snyx and the others are being watched. The intimidating chief maid is revealed, the only one capable of evaluating the direct heirs. Crash realizes that dealing with such an influential figure will be a major and complicated problem. Amidst flames, the bandaged figure of Damaris Valheim emerges. His penetrating gaze reveals a powerful and intimidating presence, a dark memory of his clan's power. From behind, Damaris's muscular, bandaged body looms against the fire. It's an image of raw power and suffering, symbolizing Crash's inheritance. Aleod reports that Lady Charlotte is in Crash's room. With a sinister smile, the Sword Saint lands with a powerful aura, ready for an imminent confrontation. With a provocative smile, Charlotte Valheim greets Crash at the mansion. She complains he made her wait, saying she was bored to death awaiting his arrival. Butler Aleod observes the scene with a stern gaze, reminding them the mansion belongs to the Valheim family. He questions if the property can still be considered our home. Faced with the display of power, Aleod reacts surprised and concerned by the destruction caused. He wonders if Charlotte's attitude wasn't a bit exaggerated for the situation. In a tense moment, Crash and Charlotte face each other seriously. The revelation that Crash has a contract with a god creates an atmosphere of distrust between the siblings. Crash reflects on the mysterious woman, whose star eyes can see through everything, even the world's erosion. This ability made her immune to illusions, making her a direct and formidable threat. The woman reveals that, just as Crash can see the star mark on his servants, she also understands him. Her penetrating eyes show she knows his true nature and current state. Facing a shadowy creature with glowing red eyes, Crash hears that he is fundamentally different from them. The creature's imposing presence heightens the tension of the mysterious encounter. Crash observes the energy in his hand with a subtle smile, recognizing that his unique power would be easily mistaken for a mere curse by ordinary people who don't understand its true essence. Enveloped in a blue aura, a mysterious woman stares at Crash with a confident smile. Her intimidating energy makes it clear she came for a confrontation and is ready to fight. She manifests a sphere of dark energy, declaring she needs to test Crash's abilities. The challenge is thrown, transforming the encounter into an inevitable and dangerous battle. In response to the challenge, Crash firmly grips his weapon's hilt. The tension is visible as he prepares for battle, accepting the test imposed upon him. Crash activates his ability, aware that his limit break lasts only 1 second. He has a minuscule window of opportunity to decide the fight in his favor. Without hesitation, Crash advances against Charlotte, drawing his sword to execute the first form of the fire-extinguishing erosion, a swift and powerful draw. Blades clash with a violent impact. Charlotte realizes, surprised, that Crash was using his full power from the start of the combat. In an intense close-up, Charlotte struggles to block Crash's overwhelming attack, her expression showing the difficulty in containing her brother's unexpected strength. As dark energy envelops him, Crash prepares for his next move. With glowing eyes, he determines that everything will end in just 2 seconds. Crash unleashes his full power, conjuring a colossal pillar of profane energy that rises to the heavens, demonstrating the overwhelming force he now commands. Crash's attack collides with Charlotte's defense in a violent impact. The force of the explosion is so great that it shatters her wooden sword. However, Charlotte is undeterred. With a crazed smile, she reveals her true sword of light, appearing eager to take the fight to a new level. A mysterious opponent attacks Crash with dark purple energy. The attack focuses on his hand, showing a precise and dangerous technique amidst the combat. Profane energy pierces Crash's hand in a violent impact, splattering blood. The surprise attack manages to wound him, showing his opponent's unexpected power. Crash recognizes the technique as Black Hood, while defending with his aura blade. He blocks the attack, but the clash between the two energies reveals the fight's intensity. With a focused gaze, Crash assesses the situation, admitting that at his current level, the fight will be difficult. He prepares for a confrontation that will demand all his power. Enveloped in a dark aura, Crash extends his hand with determination. He confirms his attack finally reached its target, feeling the impact of the connection he just made. Crash's attack collides with an invisible barrier, creating a sonic and visual impact. His opponent's eyes widen in surprise, feeling the skill's force. Despite his effort, Crash realizes, frustrated, that his energy couldn't pierce the opponent's aura. His attack was completely blocked by their powerful defense. Charlotte reflects on her aura flow, a divine power that envelops her as an absolute barrier, insurmountable for those weaker than her. This ability makes her an invincible warrior. The sword, Saint stands tall on the battlefield, surrounded by her defeated enemies. In his raven form, Crash reflects on the fight, admitting he held back. He reveals he used no sword techniques, only his aura as a blade at the confrontation's end. Charlotte Valheim is shaken, recalling Crash's strike. She realizes if the attack had truly connected, she could have died then and there, something she can barely conceive as possible. Despite the shock, Charlotte expresses her relief to Aleod. She admits she was worried about Crash's safety and is glad to know he wasn't hurt during the intense training. In the alchemy lab, Crash is impressed by the young alchemist's skill. He recognizes her abilities are genuine, as she created the elixir in just 1 hour. Crash observes Bianca and decides he needs to find a training ground as soon as possible. He is focused on his plan of revenge and strengthening. Bianca hears Crash's intention and readily agrees, finding the idea great. She offers her support while they are in a lab full of equipment. Crash is shocked to learn he drank the elixir unknowingly. The Raven then reveals the item's name, the legendary and dangerous Pill of 9 Weeping Dragons, leaving tension in the air. A terrifying vision illustrates the elixir's effect, destroying body and aura to force evolution. It's explained that, just as muscles tear to grow, power comes from extreme pain. With a demonic smile, a sinister figure promises immense power to Crash. He only needs to endure excruciating pain 9 times to reach a new level of strength. A blonde boy with a raven on his shoulder channels strange energy towards Crash. The young Valheim remains seated on the ground, enduring the process with surprising calm as the magic intensifies. Crash concentrates, remembering that focus increases absorption rate. A fiery aura explodes around him, and a vision of Damaris appears in his mind, connecting the power he's absorbing to his past. A mysterious figure observes Crash closely, noting his concentration during training is truly unbelievable. Recalling Crash's furious transformations, the red-horned observer recognizes the youth is completely different from all other regressors he has seen. Sitting amidst the flames, Crash meditates to fulfill his promise. Beside him, Damaris observes, reflecting on the pact that drives the boy's determination. With overwhelming power, Crash emerges, declaring he is finally on par with geniuses. The display of strength shocks Damaris, who recognizes his relentless stubbornness. Exhausted on the ground after the confrontation, Crash is called stubborn by a mysterious voice, while a raven watches him intently. Crash stands up, surprised to see Bianca and another girl. He asks, confused, if they were also waiting for him there. Caressing Bianca's head, Crash casually responds to her request, saying he'll do it if he feels like it. A blonde boy looks at Crash with starry eyes, surprised by his height. He asks, full of admiration, if Crash grew taller since they last met. Without hesitation, the boy winks and makes a bold proposal, asking if Crash wants to be his boyfriend. The unexpected question leaves Crash completely shocked and speechless. While Crash appears disconcerted, his fiancée, Bianca, firmly grips his arm. Her expression clearly shows her displeasure with the unfolding situation. A hand rests on an ancient book as a character reflects. She wonders how the other is there, given they should be fighting global erosion, calling it intuition. Suddenly, Crash is seized by Bianca and another girl. They push him forward, telling him not to be alone and to hurry, leaving him utterly shocked and confused. Crash comes face to face with the family matriarch, who greets him with a confident, enigmatic smile. He gazes at her seriously, anticipating the imminent confrontation. Before a mysterious white-haired woman, Crash listens intently. With a confident smile, she confronts him, seemingly knowing much more than she lets on, leaving him in an uncomfortable position. Crash tenses, realizing there's no way to deceive her. He understands the ensuing conversation will be direct, and that his true intentions have been discovered, demanding sincerity. The woman attacks with her sword, revealing her mastery. She issues a direct challenge to Crash. If he can make her retreat a single step, he will pass the test. Crash assumes a quick draw stance, and his opponent immediately recognizes it, believing it to be the technique of the famous sword saint, Charlotte. However, the sinister aura emanating from the sheath reveals the truth. The opponent realizes this is not the saint's stance, but that of the feared sword demon. Crash channels dark purple energy into his hands, gripping the sword hilt firmly as he prepares to unleash his devastating attack. With a single sword strike, Crash unleashes a storm of black energy that slices through the air, demonstrating the overwhelming power he has learned. Bianca deflects the dark attacks with her sword, creating a vortex of energy. She reflects that she can now clearly see Crash is no longer the same boy he used to be, noticing his evolution. The two exchange an intense, challenging gaze. Seeing the determination in Crash's eyes, Bianca wonders what he might be plotting, suspicious of his hidden plans. In a shocking flashback, a warrior faces his imminent end, a fatal blow striking him. In his last moments, he can only desperately call out for his father. 3 weeks later, Crash and Bianca arrive in the magical city of Halgrim. Bianca is amazed by the strange things for sale, commenting it's exactly as she read in books. Crash closes his eyes and takes a deep breath, an expression of momentary relief on his face. He seems to be mentally preparing for what comes next, finding a brief moment of calm before continuing. Crash thinks about the red sorceress, Abala, the most dangerous of the regressors. With her magical knowledge intact, he knows it's only a matter of time until she becomes a great mage again. Upon arriving at an isolated shop, Crash says they need to finish their business quickly. Intrigued by the location, Bianca asks how he knew of such a shop, far from everything. Inside the establishment, Crash approaches the table where Bianca is seated. He moves with clear purpose, indicating that time for trivial conversation is over and the mission must begin. Lilina, the maid of House Ygritte, is introduced casually eating a slice of bread. Her unconcerned attitude reveals a simple personality, oblivious to the etiquette and formalities of her job. Watching Lilina wave goodbye energetically, Crash fondly reflects that she never changes. Her vibrant, consistent personality seems to bring a moment of lightness to the young man. A shadowy bird suddenly appears, startling Crash and Bianca. Instead of being frightened, Crash scolds it, playfully complaining that it started eating without waiting for him. With a sinister gaze, Damaris Valheim observes the situation from afar. He identifies the young man as Aslan, the grandson of the Flame King, revealing a dangerous family connection. The revelation comes with a shocking tragedy. Amidst the maid's screams, it is announced that Aslan Ygritte has committed suicide, plunging the house into panic and despair. The butler Aliod supports a red-haired girl in utter despair. Hopeless, she cries and pleads for him to let her die. Lost in thought, the maid is startled by a sudden voice. Someone approaches and offers help, asking if she needs a hand. With a raven on his arm, the boy reveals himself. He confidently introduces himself as Crash Valheim, the youngest son of House Valheim. Carrying a raven on his arm, Crash approaches the maid of House Ygritte. He offers his help, stating he thought he might be useful in her situation. With an intense, focused gaze, Crash analyzes the maid's reaction. His eyes reveal the seriousness of his intentions in involving himself in the noble family's mystery. He shocks her by asking about the academy's missing student. The maid despairs, wondering how he could know such a well-kept secret. Crash reflects on the world's erosion, realizing forbidden zones expand without limit. He understands the Spirit King's forest is also in danger. Crash approaches the maid, questioning her about the Spirit King's forest. He reveals the forest's evolution birthed a new spirit, leaving her perplexed. Looking at the maid, Crash reveals he knows about her daily trips to a distant restaurant for her master, showing he'd been observing her. Moved, the maid places her hand on her chest, filled with hope. She believes someone like Crash is the only one who can save Lord Aslan. Engulfed in flames, Crash recalls how Aslan once saved him. Determined, he decides he must repay his past debt and aid his benefactor. With a raven on his shoulder, Crash asks to see Lord Aslan. He confidently promises to rescue Dorothy from the dangerous Forest of Laments. An investigator named Saphira reveals her plan to Crash. She'll use the investigation as a pretext to enter the forest as she's being watched by the main house. Using protective air bubbles, Crash and his companion enter the forest. From afar, 2 guards observe them, seemingly arguing about their presence. Crash's companion stops and hesitates, preparing to reveal something important. She begins her confession with a "actually," capturing his attention. Crash is visibly surprised by his companion's revelation. The news that a spirit was illegally removed from the forest leaves him shocked. The story of the spirit of chaos is revealed. Unable to comprehend his master's death, he went mad from loneliness and was classified as an erosion species to be hunted by all. The spirit thrashes violently, having completely lost its reason. Now, only pure aggression remains as it screams the name Agni in its uncontrolled, pain-filled fury. Crash attacks the monster before it reaches maximum power, taking advantage of its incomplete buffs. He's confident he can defeat it before the creature becomes a real threat. Using the single strike ability, Crash delivers a devastating attack, certain of victory. He knows that, with his current stats, the Agni ability makes the confrontation an easy, guaranteed prey. Despite the powerful blow, Crash watches the energy core regenerate rapidly. He recognizes the Spirit of Chaos's incredible recovery capacity, realizing the fight isn't over. Crash concentrates a sphere of dark energy, pondering that while destroying the item wasn't necessary, he decided to proceed with his plan. The decision seems calculated. He approaches the red-haired girl and reveals the item's name, Crimson Garden. She stares at him, surprised and apprehensive within a protective barrier. Amidst a golden light, the girl embraces the spirit creature in a silent, moving farewell. The moment is solemn and full of contained emotion. An earth creature with a sad expression addresses Damaris, asking if he finally came to see her, in a melancholic farewell tone. In a flashback, Damaris observes a scene with regret, admitting to himself that he should have taken care of that person instead of his subordinates. Back in the present, Crash holds his raven carrying a glowing orb and admits to a girl that the item is not yet perfect. The maid listens intently, comprehending Lord Aslan's aid is vital to summon Dorothy. Her expression accepts the perilous task entrusted to her. Suddenly, Lord Aslan's expression shifts to pure shock and disbelief. He gasps, unable to believe what is unfolding before his eyes. A shadowy demon offers a pact to Damaris Valheim. He promises to revive Dorothy in exchange for the lunar shadow physique and a future sacrifice. Damaris eyes the demon suspiciously. He questions the offer, asking if the creature understands the true value of what it demands. The creature describes Damaris's curse. Born with the moon's yin energy, he is forced to live in the shadows and can only move freely at night. Shrouded in a dark aura, the young Crash Valheim extends his hand with a confident smile. He introduces himself, heralding the dawn of his plan to change his own destiny. His offer is made to a red-haired girl who stares at him with distrust and despair, a noose around her neck. The unexpected proposal creates an atmosphere of pure tension. Aslan Ygritte is introduced, his intense, dark gaze betraying a troubled past and a profound, consuming resentment. A flashback reveals that Aslan's Sombra lunar constitution barred him from fire magic, branding him a failure. With an unforgiving glare, the family head announces Aslan's removal from the line of succession, stripping him of his status and familial love. Agatha Ygritte confronts Damaris, declaring that stripping the heir's right of succession is unacceptable. He watches her silently, the family conflict evident in his contained expression. Damaris Valheim turns with an intimidating aura, as a young boy beside her shrinks back, visibly shaken by the tension and the harsh decision that was made. Revealing his utter contempt, Damaris's expression hardens into fury. In his thoughts, he condemns the boy as a useless brat, showcasing his intolerance for weakness. Aslan's mother confronts him with his past, asserting his life now hinges on her commands. To prevent him from disgracing their family, she tormented him, remaking him into a completely different person. The story reveals how Crash's ancestor, Aslan, burned himself to destroy his lunar shadow physique. He then left the family and became the Flame Emperor. An unlocked condition arises for Crash. He must resolve Aslan's obstinacy. He understands his ancestor sought to surpass his limits through his own power, not through others. In the vision, Crash sees his ancestor holding the glowing essence of his power. Enveloped in a dark aura, Aslan ponders the weight of his decision with a serious and melancholic gaze. Aslan questions surrendering the lunar shadow physique. From the shadows, young Crash mentally refuses, tragically unable to accept the power at this time. As a raven soars above the city, Crash questions the plan's intricate method. A mysterious voice reassures him, telling him it relies on him for execution. His face shadowed by his hood, Crash reflects on his limitations. He admits to himself that he cannot prevent the world's destruction alone. Under the moonlight, Crash approaches the mansion, considering this the perfect chance to solve two problems at once with his plan. Crash remembers a promise made when a maid implored him to use his ability to uncover the true feelings of Aslan, his only friend. Memory leads him to Damaris's fury, who calls him a fool, raging at his lineage's dishonor as a child tries to calm him. The violent scene continues, revealing the child was assaulted for entering the forest, intending to burn to death. Damaris Valheim glares at the burning figure, angrily rebuking them for attempting suicide. He demands the figure feel shame, questioning why they would die before being satisfied. The burning figure reveals they never cared for honor, as their sole goal was finding the missing Abella. They also recall their kind mother, Dorothy, who motivated them. With tears streaming down their face, the burning figure shows new determination. Amidst the pain, they scream that they won't let things end that way. Filled with fury, they conjure a magic circle of fire, calling Damaris a wretch. They promise to grant their opponent's wish and kill them as much as they desire. Lilina is brutally struck by a devastating blow, thrown backward with force. The attack's speed catches her by surprise, leaving her no chance of defense amidst the combat. At the last second, a blonde maid intervenes, pulling Lilina away from danger. With a determined look, she positions herself to protect her companion from the imminent attack. Damaris Valheim reads, shocked, the instructions to revive Dorothy. The letter details a ritual in a lake to bring back his friend, wishing him luck on the journey. A woman confronts him, saying he could have just stolen the crystal. The sight of Dorothy imprisoned reveals the motivation behind his desperate actions.